Hey everybody, this is Will Chow, and this is Will's Personal Development Show. I'm here with Michael Sartain, and this is a guy that is very interesting, awesome guy. And we actually did an interview a couple years ago where we talked about health, dating, fitness, and a bunch of other things. We didn't touch on business, and I really want to dive into that, making money. But that interview got taken down, and I guess Michael, let's just kick it off with why was that taken down?
Uh, so a couple years ago, I had a former business that I used to work with, and we had a falling out. We definitely had a falling out. They did some shady business practices that I didn't want to be part of. Oh, there's Kobe. He's in the shot now. They had some shady business practices that I didn't really want to be a part of, and so I stopped working with them. And then they went off and tried to every prospective employer I had here in Las Vegas and in Los Angeles, and said a lot of things about me that just, that blatantly weren't true at all. So they were trying to use every video interview that I had done against me, basically saying that, I don't want to get too far into it, but it was stuff like I was stealing footage and that and I've never been a pickup coach. They were saying that I ran up some kind of pickup business and all this kind of stuff. So that stuff wasn't true. And so at the time I asked, I had a video with Tai Lopez that had taken down, 2 videos with Tai Lopez taken down, and then there were several other interviews. And just for safety, I just had them all taken down. And then I felt bad about it. So I went back, and a lot of the guys that had posted interviews, like Brian Obot and yourself, I went back and said, hey, listen, I'll just do another interview. Let's just update it and talk about what's happened in the last couple of years. But that's been like a really big learning experience for me, is that when you try to do things out in the open, you try to be public. So that's social media, YouTube, stuff like that, Reddit, whatever. People are going to remember and use that against you. You see it a lot of times with Twitter. People will go back and find old tweets and they'll use it against people. Now, I didn't say anything even slightly controversial. That's not what I was worried about. But I was just the way that these, it actually works, by the way. I should also bring that up. The prior business I worked for, they did get me. They lost me a lot of jobs, and it was for no reason. And by the way, those previous employers, they've all accepted me back, and they realized that they were being lied to. So everything works out in the end. But it was a difficult time for me, and so that's why, I hit you up, and I was like, hey man, let's just take this video down, because literally they were using anything they could. They were trying to take every word I said out of context. I had to make entire videos. I made this one entire video where I was just downplaying everything that these guys were saying. And it just got to the point where, man, I just don't even want to fight this battle anymore. But I'm past that now. I don't have to worry about that anymore, because I got a new job. So
That's crazy. So would you say the life lesson or takeaway from that would be don't work with people?
There's three lessons. So everybody I work with now, it's really funny. I had this conversation with him. There's a guy, he runs the guest list for all the Maxim parties in Los Angeles. And he and I have become very close in the last 6 months. And I told him, I was like, hey, his name's Barry. I said, Barry, just so you understand, and this is going to sound a little weird when I say this, Barry, if you win $10 million, I'm going to be happy for you. If you win $100 million, I'm going to be happy for you. If you end up dating 100 of the hottest women ever, get a Lamborghini, everything goes great in your life, there's never a point where you're going to be so successful that I'm going to be jealous or mad at you. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then he was like, yeah, of course, bro. I totally understand. And I was like, I have to explain that to you, because people that I worked with previous, they wanted me to be successful, but up to a point. And then if I got past that point, then they didn't want me to be successful anymore. Do you understand what I'm saying? So everyone I work with, I explain to them, I have this little conversation, this abundance mentality conversation, where I explain to them, I'm like, bro, no matter how successful you get, I'm never going to try to stop you. I'm never going to do anything but support you, right? And it seems odd that you'd be surprised how many people out there, they don't think that way. They want you to be as successful as them, but they don't want you to be more successful, right? You understand what I'm saying? It's almost like, it's a weird example, but you know who Jay Cutler is? He was a multi-time bodybuilder.
I do not.
You know what I'm talking about, Will? Well, if you look up Jay Cutler, he's multi-time. He lives here in Vegas, bodybuilding champion, and he actually introduced Phil Heath into bodybuilding, and Phil Heath ended up beating him and then ended up winning like the world championship like 7 times in a row, something like that, some crazy number. But Jay is still friends with Phil Heath because the both of them just want to be successful and they want the best for everyone in their life. Mm-hmm. I need people like that in my life. And what I found is when you have that conversation with them, it kind of catches some people off guard. You can see their reaction, and other people are like, "Of course, bro. I want you to be successful also." So you have to find that. Like, I'm not worried about me being successful. I know that that's part of having an abundance mentality. If I lost all my friends, which I would never want to do, I love my friends. If I lost all my friends, I know I could go out and meet new friends. If I lost my mechanism for making money for my business, I know I could get a job somewhere else. I know that I have enough connections and enough information, enough expertise in different areas where I could go get another job, right? I know that. So that's why I have an abundance mentality. I also know that like the relationships that I have, I don't have to hide them from other people. Like if I have a friend who's like, I don't, if you, I'm not going to say his name, but if you look on my social media, there's like this one particular movie star that I've been spending a lot of time with, hanging out with. And I don't hide him from my friends because I'm like, no, bro, he's my friend. I'm trying to protect this relationship. I don't do that. I feel abundance towards everything in my life, right? And so I'm looking for people who have abundance in their life. And what I found accidentally was back in 2012 was a group of people who like they don't have abundance in their life. They were very flashy people who looked like they were successful, but in actuality they were very, very jealous and controlling. And I didn't know that at the time. And once I tried to leave amicably, and they didn't want to leave amicably. They wanted to leave and then start, spreading rumors about me. And I didn't care about that at all. But the problem was that I started losing economic opportunity because of the things they were saying. So there was a point where I had to fight back. And I hope I never have to do that again. I really don't. And I don't even have any animosity towards this group of people. But I actually just wish that they'd be successful, but I wish they'd be successful somewhere else, like not just get involved in my life at all. That'd be wonderful. So yeah, that's definitely the life lesson is if you have an abundance mentality, you need to be with other people that have an abundance mentality, because that scarcity mentality, especially like I see people who are married that are like that. You have this one guy who's like this entrepreneur. He like wants to be successful. He just sees all this growth and greatness and wants to travel and do all this kind of stuff. And then he has this amazing, like beautiful wife, but she doesn't have an abundance mentality. She sees like this scarcity, right? In the amount of time that he has, and that some of the opportunities that he has may take him away from her. And so she starts acting with scarcity, and it kind of hurts the relationship. Does that make sense, Will?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like that abundance scarcity mentality thing, that I think the first time I ever heard it was in Get Out, Evan Pagan. That abundance scarcity mentality thing is really like I can pick the people out very quickly. I have the conversation with them. Like, I'm like, do you understand? Like, no matter how successful you are, I'm never going to be mad at you, ever. I'm always going to want what's best for you. You see what I'm saying? And it's shocking because you'll find that a lot of people are just not, they really don't want that for you.
I can totally understand the abundance part with the money situation, but yeah. I do think that like you got to spend some amount of time with your wife or whatever. Otherwise, like if you're not spending any...
Of course. Yeah. Now, I'm not talking about the internals of the relationship. I'm just talking about like I've seen. Let me tell you, like I've seen situations where relationships break up because you have a guy and a girl, and the girl actually becomes a huge Instagram model, right? And now she's got opportunities to travel and grow and make money, and she has all these incredible economic opportunities to have sponsors pay her to promote their products on her Instagram. And then you have her husband who becomes her handler, right? And becomes very protective of who she can be around and who she can talk to. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. So it's not just, yes, husband and wife I'm not talking about the internals of the relationship. What I'm talking about is that you have two people together, and then one of them all of a sudden receives a bounty, a great amount of abundance, and the other person can't handle it. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I see.
That could be brother or sister. That could be business partners. That could be, I just threw out marriage. Marriage is just another type of partnership where you could have one person who has an abundance mentality and one person who has a scarcity mentality, and then it just doesn't mix. You know what I'm saying? I have there's one of my closest friends. She had a problem where one of her closest friends has an extreme scarcity mentality, and it becomes a problem because You know, you have two. I see this all the time, and this sounds very petty, but this is a very a millennial problem where you have two girls, they've been friends, and then they both get an Instagram, and then one of them has an Instagram that grows much quicker than the other one. You know what I'm saying? There's a tremendous amount of jealousy, especially if the girl who is not getting the excess growth in her Instagram thinks that she's the prettier of the two. You get you'll see a huge problem there. You know what I'm saying? Another thing, again, going back to social media, I know this sounds crazy, but you'll have a guy and a girl dating, and the girl's like really pretty, but the guy, for whatever reason, just starts getting more attention than she does, like because he starts a business or becomes famous, or he's an actor or singer or whatever. You'll start to see like this weird dynamic that happens where this woman is used to being the one who's sought after, and then all of a sudden the guy's sought after, and it causes a conflict again because you have one person with an abundance mentality and one person with a scarcity mentality, and it becomes very difficult.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, you have an inside seat because you're in Las Vegas. I've never seen that in the small town area I live. But before we get into it like too deeply, there's probably people listening, watching who have never heard of you. So I want to give a more formal introduction. So I'll do my intro, and then you can add on anything else. Michael Sartain has worked. He's been in the Air Force. He is a stock trader. He works for Tasty Trade. He has done some incredible stuff in Las Vegas. He's been a star on the Millionaire Matchmaker, and he does a ton of red carpet hosting events, which you'll see on his Instagram and social media. And he runs a YouTube channel, and really it seems to have a fantastic time with women, with his life, with his career. Anything you want to add on to that?
Well, no, I mean that's a pretty succinct way of putting it. I work so Tasty Trade is so let's back up just a couple things. I'm a stock option trader, not a stock trader. So we just trade stock options, and then I work for Tasty Works, which is a brokerage that's owned by Tasty Trade, and then they have gotten me a job working with another fund. I won't say their name right now because they're trying to become a hedge fund. And that fund is based out of Florida. And then, so I manage money for that fund. And then I manage money for a couple of my own personal clients. So that's pretty much what I do for a living. And as far as the charity stuff, yeah, I spend all my free time trying to host different charities. Right now, the main ones are Babes in Toyland charity, which we do one for the Midnight Mission for underprivileged children to collect toys for them. We do one for forthetroops.org, which sends care packages overseas to people who are deployed. And then we do one for, this year, it was for a company called Barks of Love, which is an animal rescue charity. So those are the 3 Babes in Toyland events I do every year. And then there's the Model Citizen Fund, which they create backpacks. And the backpacks have items in them for people who are homeless. So the backpacks go to homeless shelters, they go to orphanages, and they go to battered women's shelters also. So domestic abuse shelters. And then I work with a charity called the Shade Tree here in Las Vegas, which is a domestic abuse shelter. There's one called Face Forward LA that I work with, where they do free cosmetic surgery to people who are victims of domestic abuse. And then I also did a charity event here in Las Vegas recently for the Animal Foundation, which is the largest animal rescue foundation in all of Nevada. And then finally Smash Global, which is an MMA charity that I work with, and it's an anti-bullying charity, and that's also based out of Los Angeles.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're so into giving back, and even when last time.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, let me just be honest. Like, a lot of it's for me, right? I love being on the microphone. I love being in front of the camera. And I was like, how can I do this as much as possible and help people? So I'm not going to pretend like, so the way these charities work, a lot of them is that we use social media influencers or people who are celebrities, and we use their influence in order to raise money for animal rescue or for the homeless. So when we do that, I mean, I'm not going to lie, like, these events are incredibly fun. So I'm trying to be altruistic, but not completely altruistic. I love doing these events. They're so much fun. Babes in Toyland, I mean, how incredible was that? It's like 200 Maximum Playboy models, but we had 2 18-wheelers full of toys to give to the Midnight Mission. So, it's fun, but it's also charitable.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one I recognize most, the Babes in Toyland one, because
Right.
I mean, some of like the top most followed Instagram models, or just people that are really well connected in LA and elsewhere, they go to this thing, and I see it on
Yeah.
social media. So how exactly did you get your foot in the door to these? Were you part of starting these charities, or did you just
No. No.
network your way?
I get this question a lot, and that's a great question. I would recommend if somebody wanted to get involved with this, go find a charity that's already established and then help them. So right, so in the case like Will, you probably understand how to use Instagram and YouTube better than most people who work at the SPCA, right? That work at for Wounded Warriors, that work at Autism Speaks. A lot of those companies, their local chapters, they don't have somebody there who understands social media. So you as a person who understands social media, if you just show up and are willing to help for them to produce their, you know, whatever gala, I'm sure the SPCA, wherever you live in Baltimore, where is it that you live?
Yeah, in between Baltimore and DC.
Right. So somewhere, I guarantee you, there's an SPCA that does a yearly gala, a fundraiser, and they probably don't know how to set up Facebook events. They probably don't know how to market themselves on Instagram. They probably don't know how to use Snapchat at all. They might not even have a Snapchat. They probably don't know how to post links on Twitter. You could be the person to help them with that. That's what I was. So as far as Babes in Toyland, I had a camera crew and I wanted to be a host, and I knew several of the influencers. So I invited the influencers. I filmed the event. I got an editor to edit it, and then I did interviews with all the influencers. And one of the main things that I do, like if you watch a lot of videos, like Dan Bilzerian, he makes some incredible videos for the parties that he throws, but there's no audio to where you can actually tell what's going on. Like when I watch Dan's videos, I'm like, wow, that looks like a great party, but I don't learn more about his company Ignite. I really don't understand his company Ignite very well from watching his videos. When you watch our videos, you'll notice that like I have you'll listen in the interviews, listening to the influencer explain exactly what the charity that we're volunteering for is. Does that make sense? Like I
Hmm.
look at like the stuff that you see from me on social media. It might be a picture of me with, you know, some famous influencer. That's what's there to get your attention. But if you look in the caption, there's going to be a link to go to the charity, to go to the event, so that you can take action and then you can become involved with it. Does that make sense? So like I would rather like I would rather make posts where people can take action and then use my social media in order to have a very easy way to donate to Barks of Love or Operation Blankets of Love or the Downtown Dog Rescue or the Smash Global or the Model Citizen Fund or Face Forward LA. I would love to where, oh, I didn't even know that there was, like, you understand, like if you had a lot of money and you had a family member that was a victim of domestic abuse, wouldn't it be great if like somebody brought that information to you to know that there's a charity in Los Angeles that actually does reconstructive surgery for victims of domestic abuse, and there's a very easy way that you can donate to them, and they have a yearly gala every September that you could come be part of and actually meet some of the people that have been helped by the surgeries. How incredible would that be, right? But you don't know that because that information has not been pushed to you. And then, but social media is a great and very easy way for you to learn about that, and then for you to be able to contribute back to those people. You understand what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Right. And then as a side, the part that gets noticed by everyone about me is, oh my God, Michael's with this model, or Michael's with this, you know, TV star. He's interviewing this person on the red carpet. Well, that's honestly, that's just the, like Gary Vaynerchuk said, that's the jab, jab, jab. And the right hook is, hey, come help us raise money for this charity.
Wow. Yeah, and I hear this a lot, and I think it's so overlooked. It reminds me of like quite a few other people who've done this, like Jamie Foxx when he was just like nobody. He got into P Diddy's parties by uh, his video camera. He was offering videography services, and that's how
Yeah.
he got his foot in the door. So
That's
it's
funny.
like what.
I've never heard that story, but that's exactly what's going on. Like it's a matter of where I have a team of guys that will come shoot and they'll show up anywhere, anytime. And then we can, you know, help whatever. And here's the other thing. I do get paid to host certain events. For the charity ones, I usually don't even ask them to pay me. I'll ask them to like cover some expenses for my team. But if it is a legitimate charity, if it's something I care about, obviously animal rescue is a huge thing for me. I've had 6 cats so far. 4 of them were rescues, and then 2 of them were my friends that just couldn't handle. They were going to give away their cat, and I took the cat because I didn't want the cat to go to a shelter. So and I've had 2 dogs also. So for me that's something that's important to me. So the idea of doing an animal rescue charity, you don't have to pay me. I'll just show up and I'll help you. And if you actually are raising money for who you say you're raising money for, then I'll help you any way I can.
Yeah, so I think for the people listening in, it's about like, even if you don't have videography skills, it's like about finding something of value that you have, or obtaining that, and then offering that to someone else as a value exchange, even for free, to get your foot in.
Well, I actually, especially for free, because what I do a lot of times, what gets my foot in the door for a lot of different things I do, is that I offer as much as I can and ask for nothing in return. And you'd be surprised, as many times as I've done that, how much I get in return without even asking for it. Like there is literally, I get invited to so many incredible events that I would have never had the opportunity to go to. Some of these events you can't even buy tickets for. I get access to things that normal people just don't get access to. And it's not because of money I spend, but it's because of a willingness to help and then ask for nothing in return.
Wow. Now in terms of like, let's say there's young guys listening to this, and they're like, they're interested in this, but would you recommend them doing this if they're not into charity? Like, let's say they just want to meet women. I would say no, right? You choose something you're passionate about that has women.
Yeah. So the thing is, the reason why I choose this is because I'm an empathetic person, and I like to be around empathetic people. And if I meet women that are at places like this, charity events, they tend to be more empathetic. And so I like that. As far as like not being into charity, listen, I'm going to tell you something. There are people out there who have a lot of money and donate to charity so that it makes them look good to people on the outside, right? Like they give money to a charity, but they're still doing bad stuff, whatever it is. And to me, from the charity standpoint, I don't care who gives the money to feed the children, just as long as the children get fed. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So like for a lot of people, you may get into this thinking, I want to go to a charity event to meet pretty girls. And then something may happen while you're there where you see something or you experience somebody else's suffering or pain, and it may change the way you look at it. And then it becomes more important to you. Like for instance, for me, I did the first event I did was Face Forward LA. I was going to interview Jeremy Piven. I was going to get to meet Young Jeezy, one of my favorite rappers. Caitlyn Jenner was there, and there were several other movie and television stars that were at this event. And all I'm thinking about is how awesome is it going to be for me, for my interview reel, and for me personally to meet some of these celebrities, right? And then when I'm there, there's a guy I interview who had acid thrown on his face. He's from England, and because of a case of mistaken identity, some guy knocks on his door and throws acid on his face and basically burns all the skin off of his face. And he's had several dozen reconstructive surgeries. And when I saw this, and I saw the reconstructive surgeries, and I'm interviewing this guy, and his face is right next to my face when I'm doing this, then all of a sudden, all this meeting these celebrities didn't mean anything to me. All that mattered to me was that, wow, I really felt like this is serious business, and I'm in the right place right now to help people. And by the way, so that's a transformation that would help. So to me personally, to your previous question, I would not recommend that you don't be involved with charity for any reason, unless you are a complete and total sociopath, in which case just stop watching the video, because I'm not going to be able to help you at all. The thing is, like, maybe you get into it for the wrong reason, but sometimes things change. Sometimes you witness somebody else's suffering. I promise you, there are probably people who come to Babes in Toyland who just want to see the girls that go. But then when you see some of the work that Barks of Love does, that may change your opinion about the whole thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I wouldn't recommend, like, I understand that some of these guys just want to meet hot girls, and that's important. Listen, I get it, right? I live in Las Vegas. I understand why that's important to people. But I would still recommend that you get involved with the charity one way or the other, and then just see where life takes you. Because what you need to, one of the problems is, like, if you want to meet an attractive woman, if that is the goal when you go out, a lot of times the problem is that goal causes you to become less attractive. right? Because you're coming from a place of lack. You're coming from a place of want. But if you want to go out and you want to go to a charity event, or maybe it's just like you want to have like a big group event with you and your friends where you go bowling or you go to the movies together, something that's like not super douchey nightclub related, you do that and you just go with the intention of having fun, then shockingly, you'll just meet that incredible woman that you're looking for because you weren't looking, because you're not coming from a place of lack, a place of need, a place of scarcity. Does that make sense, Will?
Totally, yeah, and I heard that quite a lot from Tucker Max in his podcast. The good goal should be to have fun and meet new people rather than
Yeah.
to get a number or sex or anything. It's very fascinating how it's like to hit this target, you go in the opposite way.
I can tell you that there have been several times where I've gone out with female friends and I didn't know if we were on a date because the thing I wanted to go do was so fun that no matter what happened, I was going to have an incredible time. So I remember when Skrillex would go play over at Encore Beach Club, I would go and sometimes I'd have girls with me and it wasn't a date. I don't know what it was, but I knew I was going to have a great time. And I think that energy was attractive to other people. Does that make sense?
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Or like I like once a month to go to Mastro's and eat butter cake. I don't want to go by myself because it's kind of sad to go to Mastro's by yourself to eat butter cake, right? So I might take some friends with me. It might be a girl with me. And if I do, I don't know if we're on a date. I don't even know. I just know I'm having an awesome time. And then just something happens. Does that make sense? You understand what I'm saying? But I'm not coming from a place of lack or want, right? I have a movie that I really want to see. I'm going to take my friends to go see it, right? I couldn't wait to see First Man with Ryan Gosling about Neil Armstrong. There's a book, the movie The Martian that came out. It was a fantastic book. I couldn't wait to see the movie. And then there's a second book that he wrote called Artemis. The author's name escapes me right now. But the second book is called Artemis. They're going to make a movie about it. I'm super excited to see that. I'm going to take a group of friends with me to see that movie when it comes out. And is it a date? I don't know if it's a date. It's a fun thing that I'm doing that I know is going to be fun for me. And then other people can join in. The 6 episodes of Game of Thrones season 8 that are coming out. Each one of them is going to be an event, a huge event here in Las Vegas. I'm going to take a group of friends with me to each one of them. Well, is it a date? I don't know if it's a date. It's just a fun thing. And I'm going there to see if Jon Snow really is Azor Ahai. I'm not going because I'm trying to make it a date, right? To get a number, to hook up with a girl. I'm going because this is a fun thing and I'm going down this path and I've invited other people to join me on this path. They can join me or not, but I'm still going to go down my path. Do you understand what I'm saying? Again, I'm coming from an abundance mentality, right? At 41 years old, let me tell you something, Will. I am absolutely sure of what I want in life now. There is no question from me whatsoever. I've never been so sure about what makes me happy, what motivates me, and what I want in life. And so I just do those things, right? When I was 25, I didn't understand this, but now I do. And because of those things, I can make clear and easy decisions, and then I just go down this path. And while I'm going down this path, other people can join me or not. It's not that big of a deal. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you think Daenerys will be alive by the end of the show?
Ready? So, hey, you know what? I'm going to put this on video so that when this actually happens, I can point back to it. What is today's date? Today is the 5th of April. Okay. So the first episode has not come out. Everyone seems to think that the Night King and his army, the undead, remember the Night King's riding on Rhaegal, who's dead now, the blue dragon, the ice dragon. They're going to come from East Point, Eastwatch by the sea around the wall, and they're going to go to Winterfell, and they're just going to decimate all of the people at Winterfell, right? That's what I read on Reddit. That's what everyone says. The Battle of Winterfell is going to be like the 3rd episode of this next season. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to come down there, and I think they're going to lose the living. Why else do you have 2 dragons if the army of the dead is going to win? I don't think they're going to win. I think it's going to be a bloody battle. I think the living are going to win at Winterfell, and I think Rhaegal and the Night King are actually going to go to King's Landing, and I think they're going to burn King's Landing to the ground. And the 500,000 people that live in King's Landing, they're going to become the new army of the undead, right? And there's already one undead guy in King's Landing. Do you know who it is, Will?
The king?
No,
the
the
Mad
mountain. The
the
mountain. Gregor
Mountain.
Clegane. He's already dead, right? He's
Oh,
already
okay.
right. So Cersei, she's in Maegor's holdfast, and she's hiding. She's trying to save herself from this undead army that's coming to kill her, and she's locked in there with Gregor. And instead of breaking the walls down to Maegor's holdfast, Gregor just opens the door and lets the Night King in. You understand what I'm saying? Gregor's eyes turn blue, and he's taken over by the Night King. And then he comes in there, and then something happens with Cersei. Either she has a baby for the Night King. You know, remember the Night King would that they would touch the undead would touch the babies, and then their eyes would turn blue. Maybe that's what happened to Cersei's baby. Maybe Cersei marries. I don't know what's going to happen. But I think this whole thing is a diversion. I think the actual battle is going to come from King's Landing North, and the people at Winterfell are actually going to survive. Again, they have two dragons. I don't think that they're just going to get their asses kicked. Doesn't seem to make sense. They have a ton of Valyrian steel and dragons. I think that's the army that can stand up to the undead. So just my guess. And the other thing is, you know that the people up north have to come south. Why? Because of Clegane. You know that Sandor and Gregor are going to fight each other at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And Gregor, he's down south, and Sandor's up north. They have to come back together. So that's where I think it's going to happen. I think the final battle, I initially thought it was going to be on Harrenhal. I think it's going to be on Dragonstone now. I think that's where the final battle between the living and the dead is going to be.
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. We'll see if your prediction is right or not fairly soon.
Yep.
I'm thinking that one of either Daenerys or Jon is not going to end the show alive. I think
Yeah. That part. I mean,
both going to die or something.
Yeah. No, that part. I think Jon kills Daenerys with
the sword, right?
Longclaw, and then breathes the breath of. So in the books, what happens is what's his face? Beric Dondarrion. He keeps being brought back to life over and over again, and then finally he breathes the breath of life into Catelyn Stark, and then she comes back to life and she becomes Lady Stoneheart. I think that's what's going to happen here. Is like, in order to bring forth Lightbringer, Jon is going to have to stab Daenerys, and then Daenerys will be like the Nissa character in the Azor Ahai story, and then Jon is going to breathe the breath of life into Daenerys, and Jon is going to die, and Daenerys is going to be the one left. That's what I think is going to happen.
Mm. Oh, that's fascinating. Okay, so let's just jump back to the previous topic on having fun and meeting new people. A lot of guys are told by some girl, just be yourself, and they don't like that advice. They get very frustrated. They say they've been being themselves for the last X years.
Right.
And they've been having fun and meeting people, and it's not working. So, is this a matter of, like, maybe they're overweight and that's what they have to address, or there's something else involved in having fun and meeting new people and being themselves?
So every answer I give is not going to be my opinion. It's going to be something that I've taken from evolutionary psychology, because that's my belief about how humans interact with each other comes from evolutionary psychology. So we're talking about Margot Wilson, we're talking about David Buss, Cindy Meston, Steven Pinker. Okay, these are PhDs. This is not my opinion. It's a little bit of an extrapolation from what they say to I guess, to form an opinion, but this is everything I'm going to say right now. It's going to come kind of based in science. All right. So the idea is that, like, women have to be the more selective of the two genders, right? In every two gender species, the gender that has the larger sex cell is going to be the pickier of the two genders. Does that make sense? So, like, there's a certain species of fish where the men hold the eggs until gestation, and the women fight over the men, right? But as far as chimpanzees, bonobos, and human beings, the men are bigger because we are competing with each other for access to women. Again, think about this from caveman standards. Please don't at me saying that I think that men are always fighting for women. When I say it, when I'm making these examples, I'm making these examples from the Pleistocene epoch. We're talking about when men were hunter-gatherers, basically living in caves. I'm talking about our ancestors. That's why we're talking about evolutionary psychology. So from that time on, you have to understand that women had to be picky, and they needed devices. They needed devices both mentally and physically to be able to determine which man is an alpha male and which man is a beta male. And again, when I say alpha and beta, I don't mean that to mean like some all-encompassing thing. In different contextual settings, a man may be alpha and a man may be beta. You may have a guy who's an alpha male, and then he goes into see Tony Robbins give a speech, and in that room, the alpha male is now Tony Robbins, right? Because everyone's looking at Tony Robbins. And then Tony Robbins may need to go to the doctor and to check to see whether or not he's got cancer. And then he's listening to the doctor in that room. Guess what? The doctor's now the alpha male. Do you understand what I'm saying, Will? Alpha male is a contextual idea. Women are always checking, because this is again, evolution, to see who the alpha male is. They're always checking. And one of the ways that they do that, and I hate to say this, is they don't give you okay, let me see if I can explain this the best way. Do you understand why it's not possible for a woman to give you advice on how to sleep with her? Do you understand? Like this might not make sense. I mean, in general, she might say brush your teeth and like be handsome or whatever. But I'm saying in general, like let's just say you have an Instagram model who has 10 million followers. She can't sit there and get on Instagram and give you the 3 keys in order to sleep with her, because everyone would sleep with her. Do you understand why that's not possible?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
There are no 3 keys.
Yeah, not only are there not 3 keys, but like in general, a woman is not going to make it easy for you to sleep with her, right? So because of that, the information she's going to give you is generally, it's not wrong. It's more of what she's looking for validation, or she's kind of checking to see whether or not you're an alpha male. Sheryl Sandberg, the woman from Facebook, right? Was she CFO from Facebook? I forgot what she was. She wrote a book and she talks about hypergamy, and the idea of hypergamy meaning women trying to marry out of their caste. They're trying to marry someone who's in a higher caste than them. And obviously in the United States, we don't really have a caste system here, but we do have people who have lower status and higher status. And so from her, when she was talking about hypergamy, you have to understand, in order for a woman to be able to determine is this man lower status or higher status, there has to be an algorithm, a method in her mind to be able to tell whether or not a man is higher status or lower status. I know I've gone a long roundabout way to answer your question, but the answer is yes, you are not always going to get the best advice on how to meet the most attractive women from attractive women. They're generally not. Do you understand? Again, let's go to the answer is self-evident here. Attractive women are not going to give you the secret to be with attractive women. Otherwise, everyone could just be with them, right? So that's the reason why a lot of times you're going to get advice from women, including your mother possibly, maybe even from network television and Disney movies, that gives you advice, and that advice teaches you how to be a pleasant, kind, calm young man, but not necessarily the most attractive man. Because when you look at it, when you look for reference experience, when you look for reference around, and you look at these same women who gave you this advice to just be yourself, you see that they're dating guys who are strippers covered with tattoos, who take steroids and do a bunch of cocaine. I'm sorry, just a generalization. I don't mean everyone, but we've all seen this before, where a woman tells you, she gives you advice about the type of man she wants, and then you see the man that she's with, and he's not that man. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying, by the way, men are the same way. Please don't at me on this one. Men are the same way. Men will say, I want X, Y, and Z out of a woman, and then they leave their wife that they've been with for 20 years to go be with their 23-year-old secretary. Men are just as hypocritical. I'm not saying, one thing or the other. What my point is that in the case with women, you have to, what I would suggest for guys to do is look around your environment for reference experience, for actual irrefutable visual proof that this type of guy gets with the type of girl that you want to be with, as opposed to reading a book, listening to a podcast, going on a pickup forum, or listening to a female or a male or your mom or a family member or whatever, or a YouTube video. Instead of doing any of that, I would look in your environment and see the woman you like or the type of woman you like, and then look at the guy she's dating and take the example of who she's actually dating as opposed to what she says she wants. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's
okay.
That's good.
Now, when you do that, that's going to lead you down a path. That's going to lead you down a path of realizations that, hey, a lot of people like to say things that validate their point of view or their being, that aren't necessarily true. Does that make sense? I definitely, by the way, men are just as guilty as women in this. But a lot of times you'll have a woman tell you that she likes X, Y, and Z about a man, and then you see the guy that she's dating, and then he is none of those things. But she's projected these beliefs. She's projected these good ideas, these good attributes onto this guy because she's attracted to him. So she's saying things about him that aren't necessarily true. We've all seen it. We've all had a female friend who's like getting cheated on by her boyfriend, and she makes up all this nonsense about him, and you're like, what? Like, she's just blind by it, right? It's just, she's become a zealot to it. Again, men are just, you asked the question about men. Men are just as guilty of this. We've all seen the guy who's dating the girl she's not good for him, but she's pretty, or maybe she's the only guy that she's the only girl he can have sex with. And so he just believes everything she says. We've all seen this where one person in the relationship is manipulating the other. We've all seen it, okay? That's not the point. The point is, what I will tell you, again, this is my piece of advice. And by the way, this is my piece of advice for a lot of different things. If you want to sell real estate, stop reading books about real estate and find someone who is really good at selling real estate and do what they're doing, okay? People don't like the simple answer. People don't like the simple answer because the simple answer a lot of times forces you to have to work hard, and they don't like that. So when I tell you, it's like you're a man out there and you're having trouble with women and you can't figure out what's wrong. The thing that I will tell you is, instead of going on the Reddit forum about picking up women, or the incel forum, or the manosphere, or whatever, or reading the self-help book, the Dr. John Gray, Men Are for Mars, Women Are for Venus, or watching the Disney movie or the network television show like Big Bang Theory. I love Big Bang Theory. I think it's really funny. The idea that the theoretical physicist just meets like the perfect 10 who lives across the hall from her. It's kind of damaging. It really is damaging for some men. Same thing with like, what's the movie that everyone liked? 50 Shades of Grey. The women believing that the billionaire with the large penis who always wants to be monogamous and never wants to cheat on Anastasia. I feel like fiction like that is damaging to people, men and women. I feel like it's damaging. I really do, because life doesn't work like that. So instead, and I would say this for women also, you see a woman who has what you want. She has the relationship you want. She runs the business you want. She raises her kids the way you want. You need to follow what she's doing and stop reading the books. Stop reading the pop psychology, the books that aren't written for you. They're written for a general audience, and they're written to say things that get people's attention rather than tell you the truth. What I find out a lot of times is that the truth is simpler than you think, and the truth is a lot more boring than you think. I was trying to teach a guy how to play basketball 2 days ago, and I told him, I need you to guard this one guy. That's all I wanted to do. Just stay with your man the whole time. And every time his man would throw the ball, he would chase the ball. Every time his man would do a fake or whatever, he would reach for the ball, fall down. And I was like, bro, I told you 6 times. I just want you to stay in front of your man. That's all you can do. And he couldn't grasp that. He thought basketball was more complicated than just guarding your man, right? This is how it is in life. Men think that meeting attractive women is more complicated than it is. What it is you need to align yourself. Let me give you this is another huge example, because the first thing I said was find men in your area who are getting the results you're looking for, and then just do what they're doing. That's for real estate. That's for meeting women. That's for selling cars. That's for being an entrepreneur, whatever it is. Okay. The second thing I'm going to tell you is have as many female friends as you can. There's a book called The Rational Male by Rollo Tomassi, and I love the book. I mean, I think it's a little bit cynical and a bit misogynistic, but there's some good stuff that's in the book. I think that there's some very interesting observations in the book. The 2 things he gets wrong in the book. Number 1, he says you can't be friends with females. That's ridiculous. Almost all my friends, well, not almost all, maybe 70, 60, 66% of my friends are female. Okay. And those females, not only are they more empathetic to the situation around me, they can tell me, Michael, you're fucking up right here. The thing you said was wrong. This way you're dressing is bad. I don't like whatever this thing you're doing is. I'm a little bit more calibrated than you are because I'm a female. And so they can help me with that. And the other thing is, like, when here's another thing, Will. This is the best piece of advice I've ever gotten as far as meeting women. Whenever I would talk to some of my female friends who were very, like, they had tons of Instagram followers, published models, like very difficult women to meet and date because they just have millions, literally millions of men trying to go out with them. Whenever I would ask those women, who is it that they're dating? I would get the same answer every time. It wouldn't be the same guy every time, but I would ask them, how did you meet that guy? Will, how do you think they met the guy? Almost every time it was the same answer. How do you think it was, Will?
You've told me this in the last interview, and I remember, I always think about it. They say, I met them because another friend introduced me.
Because a female friend introduced me. That is correct. I met the guy because a female friend introduced me.
Female friend, interesting.
Female friend. Yeah, it's all. I mean, sometimes it's a male friend, but most of the time sometimes it's me. Like a lot of my friends, they meet their girlfriends because I'll introduce them. But it's a lot of times it's a female friend who introduced them, and then that's the guy that they ended up dating. So this idea that I believe Alan Curry wrote a book called The Beta Male Revolution, and it's the same thing. He was talking about how true alpha males don't want to be friends with females. I completely disagree with this idea. By the way, I like the book, but I disagree with the idea that you can't be friends with females. I think that you absolutely need to have as many female friends as possible. Most men like women, or they like having sex with women, but they don't like women. Being able to here's a great example. If you told me tonight I was going to go, because Skrillex is playing at this new club called Chaos tonight, and I'm going to go see Skrillex. If you told me I was going to hang around a bunch of really attractive women tonight to go see Skrillex, and I wasn't going to have sex with any of them, or the other option was I go out with a girl who's not as attractive, but I get to have sex with her, I'm always going to pick the first option because I like being around women. I don't just like having sex with women. I love the company of women. I like the company of men too also, right? Like I like to go watch sports with men or go play basketball with men or do just guy stuff, right? But I also like being around women, and I like the energy that they have also. What happens a lot of times is I'll be around, you see on my Instagram where I'll be with like 10 girls. A girl will become curious about who I am because I have so many females around me. That is the secret. I was listening to an interview that Dan Bilzerian gave to a friend of mine, Luke, and he basically said, he's like, wealth is important. Being famous is more important than being wealthy as far as meeting women. That nothing trumps walking into a club with 10 girls. Nothing. You understand what I'm saying? That's Dan Bilzerian saying that. So you can understand as far as attraction is concerned, the thing that I understand is being able to be friends with multiple, like, here's another thing. I have female friends that I think are very attractive, but I meet them and they're married or they're in a serious relationship. Why am I going to screw up this possible friendship by trying to hit on somebody that I'm probably not going to get with anyway because of their personal life situation? Why not just see this as an opportunity to get to know them? If they're the type of woman that I like, why not get to know a little bit more about them so that they can help me later on in life when I actually have another experience with that type of woman? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's just like basketball, man. Like some teams like to switch on the pick and roll, and some teams like to double team the ball carrier, right? Every time you go out and play, you're getting more experience. You're getting more experience on how to handle the situation, right? It's the same thing with when you, like, if I meet a girl who's amazing, but for whatever reason, she's at a period of her life where I can't go out with her, why not get to know more about her so that I have that reference experience so that next time I know how to play the pick and roll? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I know that I'm using another sports analogy, but like that's how my mind thinks. It's always an analogous to some problem solving. So problem solving in sports, video games, chess, business, whatever it is. This is just another area of problem solving.
Okay, so I think a lot of guys have problems making female friends. For me, I've been able to make a lot of female friends ever since you told me about that. But they're more so acquaintances. Like I never get to the stage where, oh, interesting. I never get to the stage where they're like actively introducing me to others or like I'm hanging out with them all.
Well, here's the thing. What you have to do is like, so let me ask you, think about it like this. You have a female friend. You have a girl that you meet, you know, you're out at a dinner with friends or whatever, and there's this girl you meet. And you find out, this is a controversial example, but you find out that she's just gone through a horrible breakup, right? A lot of people would be like, I don't want this drama in my life. I don't want to hear about this. Not me. I want to hear about it. I want to know all about the breakup. I want to know how it started, what caused it, jealousy, all that kind of stuff. And her as a female, she might want to share this information. She might want to get this off her chest, or she might just want somebody to listen to her. You understand what I'm saying? Now, here's the other thing. You're learning from this reference experience about how this incredibly beautiful woman sings. Like, and that's how a friendship is born. Do you understand? Like, you're genuinely interested in something, that an experience that she's going through, and she wants someone to listen to her. That's how the friendship is created. Do you understand what I'm saying? So like, you're just thinking, I'm going to take, like, unfortunately what happens is when I say make female friends, guys misinterpret that as manipulate females to use them as pawns in order to meet other women. That's not what I said. I said make female friends, right? So if you can take genuine interest in like what it is that they feel and think, you'd be shocked. They're gonna, like, I have some female friends, like, I generally, like, whenever they're going through like relationship stuff, like, I don't always have the right answer, but I want to hear everything. I want to know everything that they're going through. And then they tell me about it. And guess what happens? They'll come to Vegas, and I'm the person that they call because they trust me, and I'm the one walking them into excess, omnia, or chaos, because we're friends. We trust each other. Because I genuinely am interested in their life experience. That's what friendship is, by the way. That's what it is. It's that combined with trust, right? You genuinely care about somebody. You're empathetic towards somebody else is going through, right? And for men, they just don't see it that way, because what's happened is because they've been hurt by women, they see it as a battle as men versus women. You see what I'm saying? And they can't let the other side have any strength. I'm not going to get put in the friend zone. Listen, the one that you want to be with, she's down the road. Don't worry about her right now. She's somewhere else doing something else. Right now, you're not meeting her because you're not ready to meet her. Because in here, you're still messed up. You're hurt because of all the things that other women have done to you. So let's fix that part first by becoming friends with other women and then seeing how they think. This is one thing. Being friends with women, I went through a breakup, I guess it would have been 4 years ago, and I blamed her for everything. And now going back, like having all this reference experience with all these women, I realized all the things that I did wrong. Now, here's the thing. Does it hurt my ego to realize that I did these things wrong? Hell yes, it does. But I'm never going to fuck that up again. I'm never going to make those mistakes again, because I'm willing to learn from my mistakes, because I had other females in my life express to me the things that I did wrong, right? They were honest with me. Why? Because I was honest with them, and I listened to them when for a lot of men, they're like, fuck this. I don't want to hear any of this. I don't want to hear these female problems, any of this kind of stuff. I understand why you feel that way, because you feel like you're being taken advantage of by women who are putting you in the friend zone. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you that someday you want to meet this incredible woman, you need to know what you're dealing with. You need to know how to be able to communicate with women. And I'm telling you, having female friends is the way to do that. Now, if that's not enough for you, I'll tell you this. I get invited to all the Maxim and Playboy parties. And the reason why I get invited to them is because of female friends. So maybe that's the reason why you need to have. You know what I'm saying? I get invited to everything because I have a bunch of female friends. I get invited to yacht parties. I get invited to influencers. I get invited to runway shows. I get paid to travel because I have a ton of female friends. I'm going to Jamaica to fly a drone over a nude beach. Get out of here, bro. Like, I'm getting to do all this because I have a bunch of female friends. So maybe you need to learn. You need to learn to listen to the opposite sex. Maybe that's the problem. You do those two things that I said. Number one, you find men who have what you want, and then start copying what they're doing, start imitating what they're doing. And number two, tons of female friends. You're going to start seeing a lot of your problems start to just clear up.
Wow. Hopefully anyone who's listening can really understand the benefits now, and the importance of, doing those two things he said, and actually, not seeing women as some obstacle or enemy, but something you work together with, something you actually care about, you empathize with. A lot of my listeners really care about making their first dollar, making their first income, and they're always asking questions about it. So this is something I've really wanted to ask you. Didn't get the chance last interview, but what tips do you have for getting started making money?
Okay, so I'm going to give you a practical example first, and then we're going to talk a little bit more generic later. So most people do it the opposite way. I sell stock options for a living. The best way to explain that is if you think of homeowners insurance or think of a car insurance, right? You have an insurance company and they want to insure your home. You pay them a premium every year, and then in exchange for that, you've given the insurance company the risk of your home or the risk of your car being totaled or damaged or a total loss. And in doing that, they collect a premium every year. And they have mathematical models that show that if we insure enough people over a long enough period of time, our premiums that we collect is going to exceed the amount of claims that we pay out. Does that make sense? Do you understand how the insurance model works?
Yep.
Okay, I do the exact same thing, but I sell stock options. So you own a certain amount of stock, and then you want to protect that stock that you own. So you would do what's called sell puts. You would buy puts. Buying puts, think of a put exactly the same thing as an insurance policy, right? So if I sell a put like $5 below the stock price, then the deductible would be the $5 between stock price and the strike price of the put, and then everything else you're insured for. Does that make sense? So if the company goes bankrupt, I have to pay the difference because I sold you the put. Does that make sense? And what I believe mathematically is if I sell puts and calls and enough stocks over enough period of time, for me, it's about like 7,000 every year, 7,000 contracts a year that I sell. What happens is the majority of the time, those puts and calls do not end up in the money. They end up out of the money, and I end up keeping the premium. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of like an insurance company in a way.
Exactly like insurance. So selling puts, so buying puts is like buying insurance for your stock. Buying calls is like buying a lottery ticket, right? So basically, it's the same thing. If I'm in Texas, it's the Department of Education that sells the lottery tickets. If I'm the Department of Education in Texas and I'm giving out like a $50 million prize, what's more likely? All the money that I'm receiving from all the lottery tickets in the state of Texas, or all the money that I'm paying out? Which do you think is a greater number?
Probably the business of getting those lottery tickets in.
You understand that the insurance companies collect more in premium than they pay out in claims, and you understand that the lottery agency, the education Department of Education, collects more in lottery tickets than it ends up paying out in lottery winner payments. You understand those two things, right? So that's exactly what I do when I sell calls and sell puts, is that I believe over time, is according to statistics, that I'm going to end up collecting more premium than I'm going to end up paying out. Does that make sense? That's the easy way the least complicated way to explain what I do. The other thing I want to explain to you is that fear is overpriced. 86% of the time, fear is overpriced. When is the best time to sell hurricane insurance?
Probably right after a hurricane.
Right after a hurricane. But is the statistical probability of a hurricane any higher after a hurricane?
Nope.
No. But so do you understand how it's overpriced? Do you understand how an insurance company could take advantage of that fact and actually make extra premium and more profit because of people's fear? Do you see that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That is exactly what happens with stock options. Stock options are based off what's called the Black-Scholes model. Sorry, I can't believe I forgot that. Black-Scholes model, I believe it was in 1994. They won the Nobel Prize for this model. Fisher, Black, Merton, Scholes, I can't remember their names. Don't quote me on this. But anyway, the Black-Scholes model basically was the way that options and warrants are priced. And one of the ingredients into the pricing of options was volatility. And so volatility is a way to measure fear. And the more fear there is, the higher the option prices are. Even though you're covering the same stock, ideally it's the same amount of movement. The fear that's increased has caused you to collect extra premium. Do you see that? So in times of higher fear or higher volatility, I sell more options. In times of lower fear and lower volatility, I sell fewer options. Does that make sense?
Yes.
There you go. You understand my whole model. That is what I do for a living. I do that. I have right now I have 6 accounts I'm trading for, and then I'm working for a small firm. We're trying to become a hedge fund, and that's basically what I do. It's called quantitative trading. That's the way to describe it. I do not do fundamental analysis. I do not do technical analysis. I do not read charts. I do not believe in cup and saucer patterns or death crosses or golden crosses or 3 green arrows or Bollinger Bands or any of that. I just trade. There's an expected move, a range that stocks are expected to stay in between. That range is tradable. It's 1 standard deviation, positive or negative. If you remember from the normal distribution you learned about in your statistics class, 1 standard deviation is 68.27%. I expect the stock to stay in that normal 1 standard deviation move 68.27% of the time, right? So if I sell the 16 delta call and the 16 delta put, what should happen is 68% of the time, 16 plus 16 is 32, 32 minus 100 is 68. 68% of the time, it should stay inside that range. You know what happens? Remember, I told you that volatility, that fear is overpriced. Do you think it stays in that range more or less than 68% of the time?
I would guess probably, I don't know, more.
More, significantly more. Yeah. Sometimes 75% of the time. Sometimes 82% of the time it stays in that range. Do you understand? Volatility is overpriced. That is the edge that we have as volatility sellers. You see that?
Yeah. Usually this stuff is over my head, but that insurance.
If you want to learn about this, just go to tastytrade.com. Everything on there is for free. Everything that you can learn about all the stuff that I do. In fact, there's a few interviews with me that are on there, and you can learn about all this for free. But that is the easiest way for me to explain it. We sell options, basically, like I said, puts would be like selling insurance contracts. Calls would be like selling lottery tickets. And then we expect the stock to stay within the range of the call and the put. And we believe that fear is overpriced. So really, the likelihood of us winning is actually higher than 50%. The other analogy is the casino. The casino always has odds in its favor. And remember, I'm selling a 16 delta call and a 16 delta put. That means I have a 68% chance of winning. But I could, if I wanted to, I could sell a 25 delta call and a 25 delta put and collect even more premium, but I'd only have a 50% chance of winning. Do you see how that works? Right?
Yeah. So
you get to choose the winning percentage that you want, not necessarily the amount of profit you make, but you get to choose the winning percentage you want based on what's called delta. Delta is a Greek for directional risk. So when we say delta, we mean the directional risk of an option that we're buying or selling. I don't want to get too far into that. You guys can find hundreds and thousands of hours on the topic that I'm talking about right now if you just go to tastytrade.com. There's just infinite amounts of you can also subscribe to them on podcasts, which is what I do every day. I religiously listen to Tasty Trade, and then I go on there once or twice a year to go do interviews. I go to Chicago and do interviews with them. So I work for the brokerage that's owned by Tasty Trade, which is called Tasty Works, which is a stock option brokerage. So that's how I make money. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So that's how you make money. So how can listeners, get started and start making money, whether it's through.
Okay. So here's the thing. You do need capital to start trading stock options, although I would highly recommend everyone learn how to do it, because what happens is two things. Number one, you are going to get your income, but more importantly, you're going to learn how to make decisions. So I make decisions based again on that normal distribution chart in statistics. I make the 68.27, the 1 standard deviation decision when it comes to buying a car, when it comes to buying a house. Like for instance, right now I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. Do you know something that's very significant that's going to change in Las Vegas, Nevada next year? Have you heard about it?
No, but I'm guessing something with taxes, because that's what
the Oakland Raiders are moving in about a half a mile north of my building. An NFL franchise is going to be here in Las Vegas. What do you think that's done to the price of the property values here?
Probably shot them up.
They shot up to completely unreasonable levels. So is it smarter for me to buy now or rent now?
I'm guessing buy.
The prices have shot up to unreasonable levels. So a home that should be worth $150,000 down the street is worth $500,000. Should I pay $500,000 for that home?
Probably not. No.
All right. So what is smarter to do? To buy now or to rent now?
Yes. So rent.
Yeah. So that's again the decision matrix. The decision that I make now are based on percentages, and that's why right now I'm renting. I own homes in Texas, but I'm not going to buy one because I know that we are in a bubble. And I'm waiting for this bubble to pass, and then I will buy. Do you understand what I'm saying? Those are the kind of insights that you get when you're trading every day. You start to understand one of the things that you learn from trading every day, you start to learn the value of a thing, an iPhone, a car, a house. You start to understand the value, and then you understand when you're being taken advantage of, right? Bitcoin at 20,000 was not a good buy. If you already owned Bitcoin, it might be a good time to sell. because even you know that there's no fundamental or technical reason for Bitcoin to be at $20,000. Maybe someday it will be. Okay, I think blockchain technology is amazing. I don't know which one of these cryptocurrencies is going to win out in the end, but I do know that 20,000 was a little too high. That would probably be a good time to sell. Do you understand what I'm saying? When you trade every day, you can see when something is overpriced and when something is underpriced. When something is overbought and when something is oversold. When you trade stock options, maybe you won't make $1 million in your first year, but you will learn the gift of being able to tell when something is overbought or when something is oversold, because you will do this hundreds of times a month. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the thing. That's what I would recommend for you to help you with any business. If you understand statistics and how stock options work, it's going to help you with any business that you start up. If you listen to Elon Musk, if you just go to these self-help conferences and these e-commerce conferences and these network marketing conferences, you listen to these people with like unrealistic, ridiculous amounts of confidence in their own business. No one's ever going to tell me no. Never accept, like Elizabeth Holmes with the whole Theranos thing that she did, now she's being sued for fraud. She would tell her engineers no. She would never accept no as an answer because she heard that that's what Steve Jobs did, which of course that's not true. That's Steve Jobs heard no and would accept no every once in a while. But these people thought we're just never going to accept no. We're entrepreneurs. We're just going to succeed no matter what. And they have no comprehension of the idea that after 5 years, only about 38% of businesses still make it after 5 years. Did you know that?
Something like that. Yeah, I heard
it's a low number. When you listen to Elon Musk talk about SpaceX and Tesla, he said, I knew that the number was higher than zero. I knew that there was a greater than 50% chance that SpaceX was going to fail. You understand how a man can understand statistically that the likelihood of him succeeding is less than 50% and still take action. You see that how the blinders, he's not a zealot. He doesn't just believe in his company for no fucking reason. He actually understands statistically what's going to happen, and he can make better decisions because he understands the truth about what his company can and cannot do. Do you understand that?
Yeah, he was willing to have it fail. He really wanted to.
He understood that it could fail and did not get emotional about it. He did not need to post memes or fucking inspirational quotes on his Instagram in order to motivate himself in order to go through with his business. He just understood statistics, cold-blooded statistics. The reason why Elon Musk is successful is not because he just believed in himself. People always forget about the fact that he almost finished a PhD in material physics. He was willing to do the work to gather the expertise in order to succeed in his entrepreneurial venture. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people just want to believe in themselves. They just want to get up every day. They want to look at their vision board. They want to talk about how thankful they are. And then they think success is just going to manifest for them. No, it's going to take work. And it's a lot. And a lot of times it's a lot simpler than what you think it is. And a lot of times you will have a fantastic idea and nothing will happen because you don't have the funding behind it, because you haven't networked it, and because you don't have the expertise in the area to sell it. Your incredible idea is not going to come to fruition because you don't have that expertise. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So just to recap for the listeners. If you want to make more money, copy someone who is doing well right now. Look at the pure numbers. That's fine.
I'm listening to you.
Look at the statistics and trends and really understand the number behind it. Do your research.
So we haven't even got to that part. You're right. You're right, Will. I mean, you're on the right path. But I want you to look at this. You will get paid to the size of the problem that you solve. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people start businesses for themselves. They create the restaurant that they want to go to. Do you understand? Okay. They create the app that they want to use. They don't create the app that other people need. They don't create the restaurant that other people need. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You want to create, what's your favorite kind of food, man?
I like fried chicken,
Okay.
Korean
See,
barbecue.
that's a layup. Yes. What's more likely to be successful in a particular neighborhood? A Korean barbecue restaurant or a McDonald's?
The McDonald's.
And you understand why? Because the Korean barbecue restaurant, if I live next to a Korean barbecue restaurant, I'm gonna eat there every day. But for a lot of people who are vegan or just don't particularly like Korean barbecue or have a problem with high sodium levels, they're not going to go to the Korean barbecue. Well, it's kind of funny because they shouldn't be going to McDonald's either, right? But for people who want quick, convenient food and they know exactly, like the thing is, McDonald's solves a problem and it's very clear. I've been on long road trips where the only thing that I can eat out in some podunk city is McDonald's. McDonald's solves a problem, right? And so they get paid commensurate to the problem that they're solving. And so they're a multi-billion-dollar company. There are not any multi-billion-dollar Korean barbecue places in the United States. There might be one in Korea, but here there are none. Okay. So if you understand, you start from that standpoint, and a lot of people screw this one part up. They start making businesses for themselves instead of other people. Okay. You need to make the business for other people. What is the problem you're solving? If you look on my social media, I'm giving people easy ways to donate to charities. That's a problem that some people just don't. They want to help. They want to be involved in their community, but they don't know an easy way to do it. So I post links on IG story, or I post links in my bio that make it easy. I use the attractive women and the influencers and the celebrities to get people's attention, but I'm almost always leading them down the road to some charity. Okay. And the second thing I post is memes. And why do I post memes? Because the other problem that people have that they want help with is they want to laugh. You know what a problem is? Every minute you're not laughing is a problem, kind of in a way, right? So I post dude, I have a meme plan for Monday that I think is horribly offensive, and I can't wait to post it because it's going to make a lot of people laugh. And that's the other problem that I try to solve. So so a lot of times, like I had this one guy come to me and he had an idea for an app where basically you turn the app on and it won't allow you to access your phone for a certain amount of time. And in order to access your phone, you have to pay the creators of the app. Really? You think that's going to work? Really? Sounds like a great idea. Like, people don't want that, though. That's not what you think you're solving their problem, but that's not a problem anybody believes that they have or that they want to solve. In fact, the funny thing is, screen time is the new thing on the iPhone update, like 2 updates ago, where basically you can turn your phone off. Like, you can monitor the amount of screen time you get, like the amount of social media you can look at per day. You can actually monitor it and then have the phone turn it off. But you can override it if you want, right? It's something that Apple is offering on their phones now. The thing is, like, so whatever problem that you have, so for me, so what do I do for a living? I sell stock options, right? So what happens is somebody wants to protect you own let's say you own 100 shares of Microsoft at $100 a share. I'm just throwing a number out there. Microsoft's not $100 a share, but let's just say it was. That's $10,000. You want to protect your $10,000. So how do you do it? You would buy an insurance contract to get your $10,000. I happen to be selling those insurance contracts. They're called puts. You see, you had a problem and I had a solution for your problem, and I get paid handsomely because of it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. If you can't go through a very simple, this is the problem and this is the way I'm solving the problem, and this is why I'm going to get paid for it. If you can't go through the simple problem solution steps for your business, you need to pick another business. Does that make sense? You got it? I know I keep saying, does that make sense? But I want to know that I'm not going too fast here.
Yeah. I think so. With the Korean barbecue analogy, I think it may even be better to compare it to like something ridiculous like purple colored cotton candy ice cream as a restaurant.
Some people want that, but what problem does it solve? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's that new club Chaos that just opened over at the Palms. If that club had not opened up, that all those artists that are playing there, they'd still have another place to play. So in and of itself, it's not solving a problem. But as long as they continue to have incredible artists that go there and other people, like for me, I have a problem. You know what my problem is? I haven't seen Skrillex in 2 years, and I love watching Skrillex. The solution to my problem is that he's playing at Chaos tonight, so I'm going to go see him, and that's exciting, right? But if they didn't have that, and they were just a club over at the Palms without like huge artists, they would not be as successful, right? That's the way it works. Like, you have to look at it. Here's the problem. Here's the solution, and I'm going to get paid. I know it sounds very simple, but To a lot of people, you'd be shocked how many people are making a business for themselves instead of a business that's going to solve someone else's problem. Does that make sense? The second thing I'm going to tell you.
They're not respecting the market demand. They think they know what others want, but others don't want that.
Sure. They're not being realistic. Like I've heard the whole idea about inventing your customer. My customer name is Bob. He's 32 years old. He has one dog, one cat. He used to be married. He's a little bit overweight, whatever. And then they're saying like, would Bob buy this product? Would Bob like this? Like a lot of companies do this. They actually have like a typical customer and they give them a name, and then because it makes it easier for them to ask the question, are we solving Bob's problem? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like a customer avatar.
Yeah, the customer, exactly. That's the word I was trying. You got it better than me. So that's the situation with that. The other thing that I have a friend of mine, she's doing a tanning business, and I told her, don't put the word entrepreneur in your bio. This is something I think a lot of people need to listen to. The word entrepreneur, what it actually means is awesome. Something that a lot of people should strive for. And if you're a successful entrepreneur, it's something you should be proud of. Unfortunately, the word entrepreneur has been adopted by so many fucking scam artists that I don't even want to be associated with that word anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see it often.
Right. The denotative definition of entrepreneur is awesome. The connotative, like the way that the thing that entrepreneur is now being associated with is Bitcoin, CBD, crypto, pink slip, Forex, Nadex, penny stock scam artist. That's the guy who rents the Lamborghini to show off how cool he is and buys a bunch of fake Instagram followers. Like that's what the word entrepreneur is now being associated with. So I don't want to be associated with that word. I would rather, there's a book called The One Thing by Gary Keller, where he talks about you specialize in one thing. You don't multitask. You block out 4 hours every day on accomplishing this one thing every day, right? Entrepreneur is the opposite of one thing, isn't it? It's not the one thing. It's the everything. I'm the everything business guy, right? If you specialize on the one thing, so for me, my one thing business-wise is I sell stock options, which is why in fact, there's a certain type of strategy that I use, and it was invented by a woman named Karen Bruton. This particular fund was looking for someone who traded like Karen Bruton. So they hired me because I specialized in one type of trading. Does that make sense? So in the same thing with the charity stuff, right? I specialize in covering charities on video and then filming them and then producing like 1 minute videos for them for social media and inviting the influencers. I specialize in that one thing. You notice I'm not like on the carpet for the Grammys and the Emmys. And that may happen someday, but but right now I'm specializing in charities. That's that's my one thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's my one thing. The word entrepreneur is not, if I said I'm just a red carpet host, that's the everything. That's the everything. I'm not trying to do the everything. I'm going to have more success and get more. Like I interviewed Charlie Hunnam and fucking Paris Hilton and who else? What's his Corey Feldman and whoever. Pauly Shore, Alex. There's a bunch of people I've interviewed, right? Nick Jonas, Phil Heath, with Mel Gibson, a couple months ago. These people that I've gotten to interview, I didn't get to interview them because I'm the red carpet host. I interviewed them because I am the charity red carpet host. I know that sounds like it might be weird if you're sitting there listening to it. Like, how does this apply to me? You need to specialize in one. My cousin's a doctor, and he specializes. He's an orthopedic surgeon for spines. He specializes with professional athletes. That's what he specializes in. That's his one thing. Do you understand that if it's good enough for a professional athlete, and I'm not a professional athlete, it's probably good enough for me also. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Now we want to be affiliated. He's good at the one thing. He specializes in the one thing. He's an orthopod, which means he should be able to do ACL reconstruction also. And he probably can, but that's not his specialty. His specialty is backs, it's spine, right? He specializes in one thing. And so because of that expertise, he gets more business because he focuses on that one thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
That's why I love that book.
Yeah,
the one thing's awesome.
I niched down myself in that same way. I got the I got an interview with the author of the latest Bruce Lee biography by pitching him as the podcast for Asian American men. And
Perfect.
he saw that and he was like, "You're not just a podcaster, you're the podcaster for Asian American men."
Exactly. Yes. Yes. No, you totally understand. The one thing. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So that's the way I go about it. Is here's the thing. I don't specialize in the guest list for the Maxim parties, but I get asked to invite a bunch of people. Like I have a model list for the Maxim parties. Last time I brought 117 girls to the Maxim Hot 100 party. That's not my specialty though. My specialty was these charity events with influencers, and that led to this other thing that I do. But my one thing is still the charity. You understand what I'm saying? I know it's very difficult because people want to be experts at everything, and they don't want to show any weakness on social media. They want everyone to think that they're just good at everything. That's why I say stay away from the word entrepreneur, because entrepreneur is everything, and you want to focus on one thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If I wanted to be a dating coach, I would probably be the dating coach. That's the networking dating coach. The dating coach that teaches you network with as many people as possible and create like this critical mass of networking in your life to where everyone just wants to know who you are and everyone gets connected to everyone else through you. You know Euclid's equation? You know geometry, Euclidean geometry. Have you ever heard of it?
Nope.
The simple way to explain Euclid's equation is if A equals B and B equals C, then A must equal C. Does that make sense? Just think about a triangle, right? If I know A is equal to 3 and B is equal to A, then B is equal to 3. And if B is equal to C, then C must also be 3. Does that make sense? If you watch the movie Lincoln, where Daniel Day-Lewis is Lincoln, he talks about Euclidean geometry. That's the first place I'd heard of it before back when I took geometry, but I hadn't thought about it since then. So if A equals B, B equals C, then C equals A. It means that's the easy way to explain it, right? So here's the idea to understand. If you will happen to go to a fundraiser and you meet the mayor of Baltimore, okay? And I mean the real mayor, not the one from The Wire who plays Littlefinger in Game of Thrones. If you meet the mayor of Baltimore, okay, and then he is looking for a way to, let's say, get involved with I'm trying to think of somebody the mayor would want to meet, some leader of some union, okay, but he's never met him, and you happen to know where the leader of that union is, and you introduce the leader of this union to the mayor, even though you don't know either one of them very well, you made the introduction. If the leader of the union looks at the mayor like he's a 10 out of 10 as far as influence, and the mayor looks at the leader of this union as a 10 out of 10 as far as influence, guess what the two of them look at you as?
As similar value, right?
An example, I had the head of a nightlife group. He was at a nightclub in Vegas one night, and then I had a friend of mine. She's the Playboy model. She's also a DJ. She's a published huge Playboy model with multiple millions of Instagram followers. And this guy is the head of not just a nightclub, a nightlife group here in Las Vegas. And I don't know. Well, I know the Playboy model pretty well, but I don't know either of them super well. But I introduced them to each other. Guess what happens to me? They both look, because they see each other of having high value. They look at me as having high value. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of like it translates over.
If A equals B, B equals C, then C must equal A. That's how it translates over. It's Euclidean geometry. Does that make sense?
Wow. So just let me get this straight. So just by introducing each other, you're saying that you get
logically they start seeing you as being on that level. Does that make sense?
Wow. Yeah,
okay. Now, by the way, it's not 100% every time. It may see you as higher status, right? So if I introduce Kim Kardashian to Kanye West, they're not going to see me on their level, but they're going to see me as higher value. And who knows? I might have got invited to the wedding. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm trying to say. There's a book called The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, and he talks about connectors. I believe it's in the tipping point. Could be wrong. At me, let me know on Twitter if I'm wrong. But I believe it's in the tipping point where he talks about connectors, and that's what I aim to be in general, is a connector. Remember I said, who do I say to have a bunch of friends of? Who did I say make a bunch of friends with?
Female friends. Females.
A bunch of female friends. And I'm telling you now to be a connector. Most of my female friends meet the guys they date through me. Most of my male friends meet the girls they date through me.
Oh.
Most of my friends, I have a ton of friends who make tons of business arrangements through me. The charity events that I work with, their sponsors. Guess how they meet a bunch of their sponsors? We just did one at for the Animal Foundation down here in Henderson. Guess where they got their liquor sponsor? Through me. We had one Babes in Toyland. They work with Diamond and Pascal Mouad. Guess how they met them? Through me. Like that's how these connections are made. I want to be a connector. Babes in Toyland is greater than me. Pascal is greater than me. But the fact that the two of them met helps me out, just in general. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does a lot, and I can see how you can benefit from doing so much. You're clearly very good at this. So what is like what's like the intent behind this? Because I know you're really good at this, but I feel like it's worth emphasizing that you're, correct me if I'm wrong, you're doing this from a place of giving. You're not trying to really take value. You're trying to see what does this person want or like, and has a hobby in, and what does this organization want, and then you connect those people without expecting anything for yourself.
Yeah. The simple answer is it just feels really good after you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, one of the reasons why I like to film stuff, why I got involved with videography, why I bought an A7S. One of the reasons why I did it is because I could go help people promote things or film things or whatever, and then give them a finished product that looked beautiful. I could create something for them and then give it to them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then the gratitude that I you know what? I don't even need the gratitude. Just the feeling, like seeing them being impressed, the feeling of that is good enough. For some people, the validation that they need in life is money. That's it, just money. For some people, it's money and status. For me, it's not. For me, the actual giving and then not expecting anything in return and then just doing an awesome job and having people be impressed. For me, the under-promising and over-delivering in my life, the feeling that I get from that of people being like, wow, I didn't expect that. That, to me, is the feeling alone is what I'm motivated by.
Wow. Some people, some men, I feel like they enjoy the conversations and connecting with women sometimes just as much, if not more, than sex. So that's something that I think is also very fascinating. It's kind of like, money, sex,
I'm not one of those people, by the way. I enjoy sex more than the conversation with women, but when I'm around women that I'm not intending on having sex with, I really enjoy their company also. So the problem is how men view women as useless if they're not having sex with them. That's the problem. The irony is, like, not only does it belittle women, it causes those same men to actually have less sex with women. It's a vicious cycle. It's ridiculous. They don't understand women because they view them as objects, which causes them to have less women. It's ridiculous. And the answer is so obvious, but men don't have patience. And they're like, the idea of going to watch your favorite TV show with a big group of beautiful women with no intention of having sex with them, that seems ridiculous. For me, that's awesome. That's super fun. Here's the other thing that you'll find is that if you have a bunch of female friends, you aren't going to have to go search out a bunch of male friends. They'll just pop up. They'll go up out of nowhere. Like when I have my birthday party, I could invite 800 girls and 10 guys, and I'd have 80 girls show up and 10 guys. If you want, we used to have this saying, me and my buddies would have this saying, if you want 20 girls to show up, you got to invite 200. If you want 20 guys to show up, you got to invite 5.
Right.
And you have 20.
Interesting. So we were talking about making money. So let's say I have this. I have one reader who is he's a blog reader. He is a actor in Hollywood, and then I have this Instagram follower who's a photographer. So they both have different professions, and they both want to make more money. So they've already decided their career path. First step would probably be to niche down and specialize, like you said. What's the next step?
The photographer is easier to help. The photographer, and I'm sure he's already figured this out. I mean, if he isn't willing to change professions, then it is going to be, you're going to have to do a lot of weddings, a lot of real estate. Those are the places where they're making more money. Trying to photograph models and get paid for it is becoming incredibly difficult. It's just a difficult thing to do. You're going to have to find some way to build a moat around what it is that you do. You do a certain type of photography. I know one guy who makes a lot of money because he knows how to film. He knows how to photograph. He has a special technique for photographing very close-up shots of marijuana plants. He makes a killing in California. These dispensaries hire him because he has a certain way that he knows how to use the contrast, and he has a certain type of macro lens that he uses. And he specializes in this one type of filming, of photographing marijuana. I have another friend of mine. He encapsulates he has a Canon 1DX Mark II camera, and he puts it inside of a plastic bubble that has weights inside of it, and he does underwater photography with girls, where they're just like wearing these flowing dresses and like floating underwater with their hair behind them. And he specializes in this underwater photography. He takes videos and photos of them in the ocean and all kinds of stuff. This is his specialty. Do you understand? And that's how he makes money. He's the underwater photographer. He'll do wedding pictures. These people will be in like their tuxedo and their wedding dress, floating through a pool, and he's taking photos of it. And he specializes in that. That would be the thing that I would tell you. That would tell them. These guys have already, like you said, they've already made up their mind on what they want to do, right? The other guy, would you say was an actor? Okay. So for him, it's kind of like in the beginning, when you're a successful actor, you don't want to get typecast, because then you only end up playing like one kind of character. But at the beginning of your career, that's exactly what you want to do, is get typecast, because that gets you in front of the screen, that gets you in front of the camera. So what I would do in his case is, first off, the thing that you're doing now, you know how to use Sony Vegas, right? I cannot believe, because I used to live in LA and I would go to acting classes for about a year and a half. Cannot believe how many actors I know that don't watch television, how many actors I know that don't watch movies. It is shocking to me, shocking, Will, how many actors I know that actually act in TVs and movies and don't even own a hard drive to have physical copies of the things that they've acted in, so that they can show them to people or they can upload them to YouTube. It's shocking to me. You want to be an actor and you can't. If I told you that I had a copy of, like, let's say you did like 50 interviews, and I was like, hey man, can you take these 50 interview files and then turn them into one reel where it shows all the different people you interview? How difficult would that be for you to do on Sony Vegas?
Not that difficult.
Yeah, it takes some time, but from a technical perspective, nothing could be simpler than doing that, right? And these actors don't know how to do that. I'm a red carpet host. I went on camera and I do all the audio editing and the lighting and most of the editing. I used to do all of it for my videos, because how do I not know how to do this simple thing that is going to help my career? It is shocking to me how many people want to be in front of the camera that do not understand the technical expertise behind the camera, not even in the smallest way. Like when I want to edit a video, I give a lot of times I'll actually send a rendered file of like a very small, or actually what I've been doing recently is, like, let's say like my last video for Babes in Toyland. By the way, I just posted a video for Babes in Toyland. It just got 75,000 views in like the last week. I have no idea why. I appreciate all the people who watched it. I think it's a great video. But when I sent the editor the files to edit that video, I sent him all of the interviews in order by the first one, second one, third one, the order that I wanted them shown. And then I sent all the B-roll in the order that I wanted it shown. So I sent him 2 10-gigabyte files. Each one of them was like an hour long. And then he took those files, and it was very easy for him to assemble all the interviews and then put the B-roll on top of it. And then when he sent it back to me, I gave him my notes. Then he sent back to me a perfect copy of the video, and then it was a very easy procedure. Do you understand? But I can't do that if I don't know how to use Premiere. Does that make sense? or if I don't know how to use Sony Vegas, or if I don't know how to use Final Cut. And it's shocking to me how many people want to be actors. They want to be in media. They want to be YouTube celebrities and don't even know how to upload a video to YouTube. Do you understand what I'm saying? They don't understand how the shutter speed on their camera works. Like things like that take you 10 seconds to learn on YouTube. They don't want to take that much of a sacrifice. They just want to wave their hand and become a famous actor. They don't want to take any time to like learn the expertise. Now that's the first technical part of it. The other part of it, obviously these guys are going to acting classes, I'm sure. But how about the fact that like what I found is that in order for you to get on camera, what do you have to do first? You have to have a casting agent cast you, right? So who do you think you should go intern with while you're trying to be an actor?
The casting agent.
I'm going to ask you, Will. Exactly. I have friends of mine that are casting agents, and basically what happens is at the end of the casting, when they need extra people, they just even the people who are asking for the casting are like, can you just cast yourself? Because the thing about the casting agent is that he knows exactly what the directors want. That's what he specializes in. People want to be this like theatrical everyman. They want to be Shakespeare. Well, guess what? A lot of movies and TV shows, they don't need Shakespeare. They need white male, 18 to 30, or 21 to 35, medium bills. They want this exact thing. You understand what I'm saying? So they go to a casting agent to get this exact thing. They don't need a great actor. They need this exact thing they're looking for. Now you work in casting and you start to have an understanding of what those things are that people are looking for. And now your ability to get cast in things is accelerated. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I took acting workshops, but you know what I took more was casting director workshops. And it helped me become a better interviewer, ironically. I actually realized I didn't want to be an actor, but it helped me become better on camera to do what I'm doing now when I do interviews, right? You notice even when I'm talking to you, there's a cadence and there is a space in between my words so that I get understood very easily when you're listening to what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. That I'm talking on camera a little bit differently than I would talk to a person who's, who I know very well, who might be sitting next to me. And you learn this, again, this goes back to the very first thing we talked about. When you go work, if you're an actor and you want to go work for a casting director, what are you doing? It's the girl you like and you're looking at the guy she's dating. It's the role you want and you're looking at the casting director who cast that role. In fact, you work for that casting director, so you're part of those internal meetings where it's like, yeah, we didn't put this in the booking, but we don't want somebody who's too overweight. We don't like curly hair. Whatever the thing is that was too politically incorrect for them to put in the casting, you find out about those things too, right? The other reason why I left Hollywood is because, well, it's not a meritocracy. When that whole Harvey Weinstein thing happened, by the way, it happens on both sides. It wasn't just women being harassed. I've been not harassed, but I've been definitely solicited by casting directors that were male, and I just realized, wow, this is how you get a job here. Like that, you have to do that kind of stuff. And then when the whole Harvey Weinstein thing happened, I was like, I just told my friends, I'm like, that's not the exception. That's how Hollywood works, and that's why I had to get the fuck out of there, man. I just don't. I am so. LA has done such an incredible job of making people think it is one thing, and when it's not that thing at all. I think Los Angeles is the most racist city in the United States, more than Mobile, Alabama, more than Jackson, Mississippi. Look, even Kobe agrees. Kobe's orange. Kobe does not like being discriminated against because he's an orange cat. He's like, no, I need the same rights as everyone else. No, man, I'm like. There's a completely different tirade. I love Las Vegas. Las Vegas is what I thought Los Angeles was. But when I moved to Los Angeles, I figured out, no, what I was looking for is actually here in Las Vegas.
Wow. Well, I didn't even know that. You spent a year plus trying to be an actor in Hollywood. No idea. Wow.
Maybe that's even too extreme, trying to become an actor. I think I was trying to take acting classes.
Oh, I see.
What it was is I got out of the military and I wanted to do something as far away from being in the military as I could. And I just wanted this idea of like moving to LA and taking acting classes and all this kind of stuff just seemed like so different from anything I'd ever done before. And I just wanted to do it. I had no like designs on this idea that I was going to be a famous actor. And I quickly realized that like one of the problems is that when you're the really good actors, what they can do is they dig into this personality, and the ones that are the people you like to see on screen are broken. Like think of some of my favorite characters. Wolverine. I love House. Gregory House in the show House MD, or Jack Bauer from 24, or the new Jack Ryan show, or I can't just you go back to think of a bunch of Queen Elizabeth II from the Crown. Every one of them has a hole, a weakness. Every one of them is like kind of broken in a certain way. And you know what? Like, I mean, I'm sure I'm broken. I'm definitely insecure about some things. Really know how to tap into that security as well as other people do. When I would meet the actors, they were all able like to just go dive right into this childhood pain they have, and like I couldn't really do that because I remember I was bullied severely when I was a kid, but I just don't react to that as much anymore. I don't know how. It's kind of weird to say it like this, but like if you get into Buddhism and meditation and you can actually like see past yourself and past your ego, I think it becomes more difficult to be an actor instead of easier to become an actor. Does that make sense? Because when you're an actor, you're actually in touch with your like the chaotic humanity inside you, right? The carnal desires that you have. That's what being an actor is. You're in touch with you're empathetic to someone else's desires. But when you're actually like trying to meditate and you start to understand that the physical form it's just an illusion, and it's just like part of what's out there, but it's not the whole story, and that there's like a space in between the thoughts. That doesn't help you as an actor, I don't believe. That's just my observation. I could be wrong. Other people could see meditation as being able to help them, but I thought it was actually like I feel like if I was a much less enlightened person, I would have an easier time being an actor. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I can see that. Like you have to access that trauma to do the acting.
Yeah, I mean, just think about like I just finished watching Narcos Mexico, and I'm like all these like incredibly jealous, hateful men that are like murdering each other and like constantly stabbing each other in the back. It's hard for me to get in touch with that part anymore,
Yeah, is that a show worth watching?
Narcos Mexico is fantastic. I think it's better than the original one.
Interesting. Okay, so what do you think about fashion? And because a lot of guys just suck with what they don't know what they're wearing, they don't know what they're doing with their clothing, but you have a very classic, simple, and good style. I see a lot of suits on Instagram. I'm wondering, where does that fashion come from? Did you just pick it up yourself?
No, so for me, it was a function of what looked good on me. Like black looks good on everyone, and you see I wear a lot of black. I wear some blues and charcoals also, but the main thing was that I focused more on the way things fit and the shape that was created out of my outfits. I focused more on the shape than I did the material or the brand name. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think some of these guys who are like overweight, wearing like these bulky jackets, and then like the Gucci belt, and they're like showing off the Gucci belt, but they're already kind of overweight. And then they have like these weird shoes on, and they're wearing sweatpants in a club, but the sweatpants like even more accentuates the fact that they're not in shape. Like I don't like that. Like I understand that shows status through wealth, but it doesn't show status through physical fitness, and I'm not a fan of that. I don't have broad shoulders, so I wear suit jackets that make my shoulders look broader, right? That's the point. And then I have it tailored around the waist to make my waist look smaller, to create like this V shape that shows like a healthy physique. So that's what I focus on. I mean, if anything I would tell you is like, anyone who's listening, you want some practical stuff, go to Zara, buy some black Zara pants that fit you really tight. And if they're uncomfortable the first time you put them on, that's the one you want, right? They're going to loosen up over time. Go to Express or H&M or Zara and get a black long t-shirt that fits you correctly. It should bite a little bit on your arms. It should bite a little bit right here. If it doesn't, one, you need to go to the gym, and two, you need probably a little bit tighter shirt. Like that's what you need to do. And then the other one is you want to get a suit jacket. I like, you know, anywhere. I like, for me, I happen to like Kenneth Cole specifically because my jackets get destroyed when I take them to nightclubs and these events. And these Kenneth Cole jackets are like, they're very durable and they're shaped correctly. I would avoid wool or like silk. I can't remember the different, the linen jackets, the one, because when you sit down, they get wrinkled in the back. Remember, wrinkle does not help shape. I'm only interested in shape. I'm not interested in texture, material, or brand name. I'm only interested in shape. And because of that, if you go look at what I wear, you'll see a lot of very plain, solid colors, but you'll notice the shape is correct. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. What would you say are your like top 3 things you've learned over the years from being a host, a red carpet host? Whether that's related to your career or your friendships or personal life or whatever.
You know, it's funny. No one's ever asked me that from being a host. The first thing is, if you know something about someone when you're going to interview them, the best feeling for me is when they're flattered and surprised that you knew this thing they didn't think you know. Does that make sense? Right? So I'm at this, I'll give you a couple examples. One, first time I interviewed Phil Heath, I happen to know that he used to play point guard for Colorado State in college. Well, this guy's the bodybuilding world champion. Nobody knows this guy played college basketball. Nobody, like, do you understand? Like, there was no pictures of it. Hardly anybody knew this. And then when I brought it up, he was surprised. Like, wow, how'd you know that? You know, yeah, I used to play college basketball. And then I interviewed Young Jeezy, who's one of my favorite rappers. And we're at this very, like, extremely high fashion, falutin, like extremely expensive, like $5,000 for a table, for a seat at this like charity gala. And Young Jeezy comes down the line and hardly anybody recognizes him. And I go, if you look close at your camera, you will see that it's Young Jeezy from the bottom of the map. And that's one of like his songs, right? And then and he was surprised that I knew the lyrics to some of his songs. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because in the environment we were in, there weren't a ton of Young Jeezy fans there. You know what I'm saying? When I interviewed Jeremy Piven, I happened to know that he was from Chicago and he was part of Second City. And I brought up the fact that I work for a brokerage in Chicago. When I first met Neil Strauss, the guy who wrote The Game, I brought up the fact that I was trying to read the book by James Joyce called Ulysses, which is his favorite book. And it was very difficult for me to get through. And he appreciated the fact that I was actually trying to get through that book. So there's a thing, there's the girl I love to interview her. She's a fantastic Playboy model, published model. Her name is Chloe Ture. She's Canadian and she's part Italian. And she has a little brother who has autism. And if you interview her and ask her about that, she's going to just talk and she's going to be impressed about the fact that you know that. Now, her and I are friends, so that's why I know that. But if I was going to interview her, that's something that I would bring up because that's something that's very important to her. One time we interviewed Zed's Dead, which is a group out, again, like an EDM group out of Canada. And one of the questions I wrote down was about their YouTube channel. They have a YouTube channel where they make these funny videos and they don't really get a lot of views. And they were shocked. They were shocked that I knew about it. You know what I'm saying? So that would be one thing. If you can find out a thing. Oh, I interviewed Jose Canseco one time. And Jose Canseco's doctor who did his spine is actually my cousin. And I brought that up. And now he was kind of surprised that I knew that. So when you interview and that you know that little piece, then it feels like the interview is a little bit more genuine. That's one thing. The other thing I would tell you is, again, if you have a ton of female friends, there's 2 things you get. One, you get magnificent interviews with beautiful women on the camera that get a lot of people's attention. And number 2, you get a bunch of guys who come to those events because those women are there and you can interview them also. Right? That's the second thing. The third thing is, like, I watch a lot of Charlie Rose and a lot of Joe Rogan. And unfortunate, you know, with the Me Too movement, that whole thing with Charlie Rose is very unfortunate because Charlie Rose is from North Carolina. I'm from Texas. I like his style, and I could, you know, I kind of mimic him a little bit. I don't, you know, pull my penis out in front of my coworkers, but I mimic the rest of him. And then Joe Rogan, and like these guys are genuinely interested. This should have been the first tip, by the way. They're genuinely interested and curious about. You remember what I told you before about when I listen to my female friends and they tell me about the drama that's going on in their life? I am genuinely interested. I find this stuff incredibly entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing when I'm interviewing people. I'm genuinely interested in what it is that they have going on in their life. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I sat with a female friend of mine last night who is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. Found a club with a bodyguard, and I'm like, "What is that?" And she goes, I without her even saying, I was like, "With your ex?" She's like, "Yeah, it got really violent and crazy, wild, and all this kind of." And I was like, "I mean, everything. I want to know all this stuff." She's got a freaking like 6'9" bodyguard walking around with her. I was genuinely interested in what it is that's going on. What that was going on with her life. So when you do interviews, the thing is, like, you have to find, and sometimes you're going to interview people that you don't agree with politically. You have a hard time. I mean, you have to just be genuinely interested. And the other thing that I do that's very different from a lot of other people, and why people find themselves to be comfortable with me, is I say a lot of ridiculous things in a funny manner that aren't true, and they genuinely don't make it into the final version of the video. One time I had two of my friends, I was interviewing them. And these are both pretty, really wholesome girls. They neither of them have ever done nudes before. They're just models. They're just regular models. And I was interviewing them, and I was like, "I'm here joined by the two newest contract girls for browsers.com." And they were like, no, don't say that. No, but they thought it was hilarious, right? They thought stuff like that was funny. I just, I try to pick on my friends, and like, I have one of my buddies, he's a comedian, and I was like, you might not recognize Jared, considering that he's not completely drunk. It's just funny stuff like that. I just tease them, and then you just kind of grow a little bit more of a connection. The other thing I will tell people from doing interviews is that you give them a highlight package or their entire interview over Dropbox as soon as possible, so that they can see their interview, and that they generally appreciate that. I will say one thing. This is a thing I learned. I don't know how practical this is. When I do interviews of people tend to want the photos of them being interviewed more than they want the interview. Now, I don't, because I like the way I sound on camera. I don't mind the way I sound on camera. Something I work on. A lot of people don't like the way they sound on camera. So they like the fact, they like the validation of having a picture of someone interviewing them because it makes them look important, but they don't want the actual video of them being interviewed because they don't like the way they sound. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Stunning how many girls do. And the other thing is, like, it's very difficult to Photoshop video in an interview. And if they don't look like their photos on Instagram, they really don't want to post the interview. That happens sometimes also.
So they'll actually tell you to not post a video, or are they just like looking?
No,
to
I never post it. I always give the girls the video and then they can post it. The girls who I do post are like the huge models, the huge Instagram influencers who do look like their photos. Like, if you meet Kindly Myers in person, your jaw will drop because she's just as beautiful in person as she is on her photos. She looks exactly the same. If you meet Melissa Risso or Melissa Seha or Sierra Nowak or CJ Sparks or June Walton, or I could name a bunch of these, or Lindsay Palas or Emily Sears. If you meet them in person, those girls happen to look exactly in person like their photos do, and they're just jaw dropping. So those are the girls that I tend to put in my videos. I don't have to ask them because they look just like their photos.
Interesting. So another thing you do, and you mentioned this on some other video online, you don't talk about the things that everyone else asks them about. So if it's Gary Vee,
with Asa Akira,
or if it's Lindsay Palas, you don't ask, you don't hit on her. You mention something no one else really talks about, like she's from Louisiana and you're also a country guy from Texas.
Yeah.
So that's another.
Definitely try to. Well, okay. So in the case with Lindsay, because she is so attractive, and then she uses her physical attractiveness on social media in order to to grow her influence, I try to stay away from that specifically whenever I'm interviewing her, or if I do bring it up, it's in a comedic manner. I try to talk about something else, right? How great is it that you all, because she's a fan of other Instagram models too. And she might talk about, oh, I love coming here because I get to see all the other Instagram models, these people that I've been following for years, right? So so for her, it might be something different. But yeah, I definitely try to do that. I try to stay away from like the thing that everyone else asks, because there's too many. You can find too many like, oh my God, you're so pretty. What is this dress you're wearing? Because other people are going to ask that. I don't need to ask that. You know, I'm gonna go in a different direction. Hopefully, if you ever see an interview where I'm interviewing somebody, you're going to learn something that you didn't know. You know, there's just there's no such job as a red carpet host. I know some people say there are, and I know you see like Mario Lopez does it and Ryan Seacrest, but that's not their job. Those guys have other jobs, and being the red carpet host is just sort of like being a correspondent. That's just like a different thing that they do on the side. There's no such thing as just the guy who's the red carpet host. It's not a profession. Does that make sense? I can't think of anyone who you could call it a profession. That's all they do. Even guy passed away recently, rich and famous, Robin Leach. There's no such thing as a guy who just stands on red carpets and that's all he does for a living, which is funny because that's kind of what I do. I forgot what my point was going to be here. I will tell you from a networking standpoint, it's fantastic because I have a reason to invite people to different things. And there's a lot of my friends who are like, you know, pseudo celebrities, and they come to these events and then they're like, hey man, I'll interview on the red carpet and then give you the footage. And it's helpful because their media people, their manager or their agent or whatever, they always like to see their clients being on red carpets or being interviewed. And so when I give them the interview, they're very happy to have it. Does that make sense? I did one with Nicole Arbor and I gave her the interview, and then her people edited it and made it into like a really funny video.
Nice. I'm going to round this out with a few final fun questions, and useful ones too. So how do you actually learn how to just talk to super attractive women like they're your male friend? I think I would say it's easy to do for you because you're in Las Vegas, but what if you're not surrounded by all these women all the time?
So isn't it funny like that you asked the question, because the question like goes back to the other solution that I gave before. If you have a ton of female friends, that doesn't mean they're all attractive, gorgeous female friends. If you have a ton of female friends, then when you meet very attractive female friends, not only will they be more comfortable with you because you have female friends around, but you'll also be more used to speaking to females, and you won't have a difficult time talking to them. But that is funny. Like I've had a couple people this week remark to me how unaffected I am by a woman's physical attractiveness. It's true. I really am. Like I have a ton of like very attractive female friends that I'm not attracted to. Like I have no inclination to date them whatsoever. And they're really attractive, and I just don't care, because here's the real irony of this. I'm around a lot of attractive women, and some people might project this idea that I'm shallow because of it. But the funny thing is like I have no time in my life to be around shallow women because I have so many female friends. I choose, and I don't choose to be vapid human beings. I really like girls who like, dude, Lindsay Palos is fucking awesome. She helped us, dude. She pays so much money for an animal rescue charity. Chloe is awesome. She's helped us. She literally like put Babes in Toyland on her back and helped grow that. You know, Kindly Myers is a current person. Like if she's one, if you're like, hey man, you got to go on a desert island, you got to be with somebody out there who's like super funny and you're just gonna have a fun time with, she'd be in my top 10. She's awesome. She's just so fun to hang out with. And I get to choose who I get to hang out with, because I don't have to just choose, well, she's pretty and she's not pretty or whatever. Like I have so many female friends that I get to choose whether or not I'm around very superficial and vapid women, or I'm around charity-driven, empathetic, kind, generous women, and I choose the latter. So that's also been a gift, and another reason why I would suggest people have female friends.
How well, like, what's your dating situation like now? Are you just, is it like not?
Who knows when you're gonna post this? I am either dating several people or I'm in an open relationship. Like, no, it doesn't matter when you post this. One of those two things is going to be true. I believe that I was explaining this to a friend of mine last night because her and her ex-boyfriend are both friends of mine. I care about both of them. I want them both to be happy, and they're together, and then they're not together, then they're together. So let me explain to you like this. Let's go back to evolutionary psychology. Monogamy. Do you lift weights ever, Will?
Yes, all the time.
Okay, so Will, let's just imagine 225 pounds on a bench. Okay. When you're a young kid, you generally can't bench 225. I remember the first time I benched 225, I was probably 17 years old, and I've been working at it since the time I was 14 years old. I wanted to bench 225. And then I also remember a time when I got out of shape in my mid-20s when I could not bench 225 anymore, right? We're going a roundabout way to get to this. The point is, to get to a certain heavy weight, you have to work out and work up to it. And then once you're at that strength level to lift that heavy weight, you have to continue to work out. Does that make sense? Right? That's what monogamy is. Monogamy is this weight that you have to work up to, and then you have to continue to work at it every week. Both of you do. And if one of you decides to slack off, then all of a sudden you can't bench 5 anymore. Monogamy doesn't work anymore. I know it's a weird example, but the thing is, people think of monogamy as the natural state of Homo sapiens. It is not the natural state of Homo sapiens. It is something you have to work for. Monogamy is not good or bad. It's just hard. Okay? And the more attractive or the more high status one or both of the people in the relationship is, the more difficult monogamy is. All right? So if you want monogamy, if you're listening to this and you're a man or a woman, just understand it's something you have to work for. It's not something that just exists. What happens, unfortunately, is people get married and they think that the words that they say at their wedding ensures monogamy forever. It does not. 80% of divorces are initiated by women who are not feeling validated, who are not feeling appreciated in the marriage that they're in, okay? Because you have to work in order to maintain monogamy. I don't want to lie to anyone. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And personally, I don't believe that monogamy is a natural state for Homo sapiens. So I am not a monogamous person right now. So I either choose to date several people or to be in an open relationship. And I do so out of honesty, by the way. Like, I'm perfectly, like, there's people where I'm like, I like you, and I don't really want to date anyone else, but I still don't want to be in a monogamous relationship with that person because I don't want the pressure of having to disappoint them if someday I change my mind.
Interesting. What do you say your top 3 favorite movies are?
I mean, it's going to sound like a pattern, but number 1 is Interstellar. Number 2 is The Martian. Number 3, man, it's close, man. It's either First Man or Gravity. I studied astrophysics in college. So it's either Gravity or it's First Man with Ryan Gosling. And then after that, it would probably, there's some other movies. Like I loved Heat. I loved Swingers.
Space Odyssey.
Huh?
2001
no,
Odyssey.
No, not really. That was a really freaking weird movie. All the Marvel movies I love. The first X-Men movie. I loved Logan. I was shocked that wasn't nominated for an Academy Award. Wolverine is like one of my favorite characters. And the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are fantastic. Like all those Marvel movies are great. But yeah, the movies that have somewhat of an accurate depiction of space, I am huge fans of those. And then of course my favorite TV show everyone knows is Game of Thrones. But after that, it's The Expanse. It's the show that most people don't know about, and it will for the next 4 or 5 years be the best show on television. I have no doubt whatsoever. I think now that it's moved from Sci-Fi Channel to Amazon because Jeff Bezos, it's his favorite show and he bought it and brought it over to Amazon. I think it's going to be one of the biggest shows in the world here very soon.
I've watched all of those except for that last one.
Yeah, The Expanse is it's current day Earth. It's this planet we're on, but it's 200 years in the future. And it's written by two guys who used to work with George R.R. Martin, who wrote Game of Thrones. Again, and on the cover of all the books, it says, "The way science fiction was meant to be written." George R.R. Martin. That's his quote. And he personally called Jeff Bezos and asked him to buy the show from Sci-Fi and bring it over to Amazon.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. I've never felt so manipulated by cliffhangers and like more stressed out watching a TV show in my life than The Expanse. It's so great. And there's a 9-book series that goes along with it also.
I have to check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you struggle with meeting high quality women anymore?
No, I've the opposite problem. I meet so many high quality women that I struggle having any of them trust me because I just know too many women. Like, I mean, that's kind of the issue. It's like, and they even tell me that it's difficult to say. Like, this is an example. This is a small example, but this is one of like several. I was dating this one girl. Seriously, I really liked her, and then I introduced her to my buddy, who happened to be Hugh Hefner's wife, Crystal Hefner, who was surrounded by a bunch of Playboy models. And like, I didn't think it at the time. I was like, obviously, there's nothing going on with me and Crystal, clearly, and I'm not doing anything with her friends. But the fact that me, just this regular, like, she's the girl who's used to being chased. She's the blue-eyed blonde who everyone was chasing. And then here I am, friends with Hugh Hefner's wife and a bunch of Playboy models. And I was the one being chased. And she wasn't. Like, she had a very difficult time trusting me, right? And one of many examples. There's been several other examples, but that was one of the more extreme examples, right? You know, you're dating a girl, and you introduce the girl to your buddies, and she kind of tolerates your buddies. It's a little different when your buddies are like girls with 4 million Instagram followers. It makes it a little bit more difficult. So for me, comfort is definitely an issue, right? It's just there's nothing special about me, but I do happen to have a lot of female friends that make other women notice me. There's nothing. I'm not special. There's nothing special about me personally. It's just I happen to have a lot of female friends. And when you see those female, like I can tell you that sometimes when I take pictures with Lindsay Payless or Nicolette Shea, ironically, the porn star, who's a friend of mine, or Kindly Myers, I get messages on social media about how women find me desirable because I know them, right? Again, there's nothing special about me. It's just I happen to be aligned with them.
Yeah, this is all very fascinating coming from me who lives in a more smaller, slow-paced lifestyle in town.
No, you live near Baltimore, man. You can sell that crack. You get on the streets with D'Angelo Barksdale, Mayor Carcetti.
Yeah, but it's very fascinating because it's like it's this whole dynamic of like tons of I guess abundance, and then like jealousy and all this stuff. It's a different world in a sense. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I work in finance, so I can work from anywhere in the country, and there's no rational reason. I shouldn't even be saying this because it's just gonna ruin my life here. But there's absolutely no rational reason why a single heterosexual male does not live in Las Vegas. I just don't understand how you could not want to live here. It's so much less expensive than any other big city. And it's just like, you just fall out on the street and there's 20 women who are more beautiful than anyone you have ever seen back home in Dallas or Baltimore or even Miami or Los Angeles. Like, they're just incredible. Like, and you're like, well, I don't have to worry about that part of my life because, that part's pretty much handled. I mean, that's just so great to me. That's why I like it here. And then the other part is like, my favorite musical artists, I can drive literally 4 minutes and go see them and then drive back home to my apartment, which is on the Strip in Vegas. And I have this incredible gym that I can go downstairs and play basketball. Like, it's great. It's just, I can't imagine I'm a single man wanting to live anywhere else than here.
Right. I want to give some credit to you and not just the city, because I've seen some vlogs of other like famous YouTubers or just people who live in Las Vegas, and I would say you're doing much better in dating than them. They're just like
that's partially because they let the gambling, the drugs, and the alcohol absorb them. They let that part of the city take over their life. That part of the city is not constructive for my life, so I don't let that be a part of my life. There's no alcohol. I don't drink. I don't do any drugs. I'm in the gym 7 days a week. That's the gambling. I sell stock options for a living. I understand statistics. Why would I ever gamble? That doesn't make any sense to me. Those things don't help my life, so I don't participate in them. But I do like musical artists and really awesome nightclubs and listening to trap and dubstep and hip hop. Like, I enjoy that part of it. I like the fact that I can go out with a bunch of people who are like-minded, like me, who like to go out and have fun and who are in phenomenal physical condition. I love that. I love that everyone here is in shape. I love that. It's so great. That's why I live here.
Okay, so this is gonna be another fun question. I was watching the Ignite Twitch stream, and they had
You saw that.
yeah, they had Lindsay Palas on with like a few other people, Billy Powers and so forth. But the point is, she started talking about like crazy stories she'd experienced just being in this like bubble of like Instagram influencers and so forth, which is again, it's just a very fascinating, different world from mine. And she talked about how like just walking into a nightclub with her boyfriend just made her very, very jealous. Do you have any like interesting stories you want to share, just to give others as like a sense of I don't know, the Las Vegas life or the influence?
I mean, I'm not an influencer, certainly not on the level of a Lindsay Palas. But what I found is that when I walk into a club with other girls who are influencers, the reaction that I get from the staff and from people at other tables, and especially people who maybe aren't my biggest fans, the amount of reaction and sometimes praise or vitriol that comes out is shocking to me. I'm trying to think what else. Like it's really interesting. When I went to last time I was at Bilzerian's house, I've never been recognized more in my life. And obviously, I'm not that, like, Dan Bilzerian has like 24 million followers and I have 30,000. Like, of course, he's way more popular than I am, but in that tight Instagram bubble, those people who are like hyper obsessed with Instagram, a lot of them knew who I was, and I thought that was really interesting. I'm always shocked when I go out in Los Angeles and in Las Vegas how many people recognize me here. But of course, if you go look on my insights, you'll see that almost all my followers are from Los Angeles and Las Vegas. So that kind of makes sense. I will say that, like, you don't have to have 1 million followers to be able to like make your life much easier by using social media. That would be definitely, like, so for me, selling tickets to a charity event is something that I can do on social media, even though I don't have 1 million followers. And then the other thing is, like, this is a little observation I made. People like pictures of me with Lindsay Palas, but people who follow Lindsay Palas aren't necessarily going to follow me because I'm in a picture with Lindsay Palas. Does that make sense? Like, the permission doesn't directly transfer, right? You're looking at Lindsay Palas for one thing. You're not going to find that thing looking at me, right? So she's in a completely different world than me. And the other thing is, like, we keep using her as an example. She's also a really great person. She's I'm so impressed with Lindsay every time I hang out with her. Just how she is in general. Because the thing is, she knows that she kind of lives in a glass bowl. Everyone's watching her, and the way that she's able to maintain. She does not need to be nearly as humble as she actually is. She could be way more arrogant than she is, and she's not. Like, she's just like whatever. Like, man, it's crazy to me how she acts. Same thing. Emily Sears is like that too. Like, they could be way more arrogant. With the following they have, they could be way more arrogant than they are. And every time I see them, they're so happy. They're so nice to me, and I'm very appreciative of them. And I would just rather be around people like that in general, to be honest with you. So they're great. But as far as that whole social media thing, it's really interesting how this little bubble of people who live in LA and Las Vegas affects people who live in Jakarta and Tehran and Singapore and Africa and all throughout Europe. It's shocking to me. You know what I tell my friends? About 85% of I'm sure this isn't true, I'm exaggerating, but you say 85% of the traffic on Instagram is men in the Eastern Hemisphere looking at women in the Western Hemisphere. That I truly think that. I think that's what 85% of Instagram is now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, crazy stuff. Lindsay has her own podcast,
She
Eyes
does.
Up Here. She's a really good conversationalist and
She is.
interviewer.
I told her I'd
So
like to interview her on her own podcast.
yeah, and she's killing it there. She's got like 20,000 reviews or ratings or something.
Awesome.
Okay. Last question. If you got a lot of young people listening to this, wanting to improve their lives, make more money. If they forgot everything else that was just said, what's the one message you want to leave them with?
You need to find someone in that industry who's having the success you want, and then you do exactly what they do. You don't try to make it up as you go along. And even if you don't understand all the things they're doing, you do them anyway. Suspension of disbelief and speed of implementation. So you find that mentor, and then you do exactly what they're doing. The 10,000 hour rule, I think that's what Malcolm Gladwell was talking about. So for me, I learned how to trade a certain way. I did 10,000 trades that way. And then after the 10,000 trade, then I could kind of like make up my own thing and sort of venture off. But I needed expertise in the basics. So that would be the first thing. So do you find mentors and do exactly what they say? And then the other thing is, again, you need to find the problem. You need to make up the customer who has the problem, and then you need to solve that problem for that person. And the bigger the problem, the more money you will make.
Well said. Very succinct. Thank you again. I am so truly appreciative for you being on here, Michael. Lots of love. Thank you for the listeners for listening to this. This will also be up on YouTube and not just my podcast. So if you want to see the visual component, see what Michael looks like, check out my YouTube channel. But thank you again for listening. Thanks again. Any last parting words for the listeners, or are you good to go?
Listen, man, if you want to come and people have always asked they want to meet me or come to one of my events. The thing is that's always surprising is that, to go to Babes in Toyland, it's $80. $80. It's the exact same girls that go to the Playboy Mansion, exact same girls that go to all the Maxim parties. It's $80. You have no excuse. The next Babes in Toyland, I think, is in July. It's the Thursday before the Maxim Hot 100 party. You have no excuse. If you want to come out, if you want to see what this whole lifestyle is like and do it for a good cause, come on out, man. Check out my social media. It's at Michael Sartain on all platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, even on Pinterest and Tumblr. It's at Michael Sartain, one word. So come and check that out. And then the easiest way to communicate with me, ironically, is Instagram. I'm going to respond to Instagram faster than email. I'm going to respond to that faster than text messaging. But yeah, if you want to get involved in one of these charities, then come out to one of these events. You'll be shocked. One, I'm not charging $750 for a ticket. This is not the Playboy Mansion. I'm just I'm not trying to make $1 off this. I'm trying to help whatever the charity is. So come. Do not feel bashful. Do not feel out of place. Do not think that because a bunch of attractive women are there that you shouldn't go. You should come. You're welcome to come. I want you there. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, if you have any questions, send them to me on Instagram. I'm thinking about Will. One of the reasons why I want to do this also is that my best friend, he does some self-help stuff, and he wanted me to do some Skype coaching. So he wanted me to start going online and doing individual one-on-one Skype coaching. So that might be something that I'm going to do in the future. Not sure yet, but yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Find me on social media, and then the thing is, you guys are going to have a lot of questions, but most of those questions, they're answered if you really look at what it is that I'm doing.
All right, guys, you heard it here first. What a great deal. $80, you benefit a great charity and meet this awesome guy and
you get to hang out with Lindsay. Pay less. You're gonna have to yourself.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Michael.
All right, man. All right. Take care.